Hey, this is Kevin Kelly. Get ready for the latest episode of the Stardom Cast.
Hello guys and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things world-wondering Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I'm joined as ever by Matt Turner. Matt Turner, it's the most wonderful time of the year. It's 5-star season.
It sure is, brother. It sure is. And we have a lot to talk about, my friend. I'm super excited to talk about not only the 5-star, but all the crazy news. Of course, there's a Stardom press conference, which means, means nothing but shenanigans. And then we have a few shows to go over as well, which we'll cover. But first and foremost, sir, how was your trip over to Croatia, right? Isn't that where you went?
It was indeed. It was lovely. Obviously, we went for Big Mama Goodwin's 60th birthday. But it was brutally hot, and as any Brit can tell you, we enjoy complaining about when it's too cold. We enjoy complaining about when it's too hot. We complain about the weather unless it is fiercely mild. It was extremely hot. I'm talking like 36 degrees Celsius, and I'm just not built for that. But aside from that, Croatia is an absolutely beautiful country. We went to Split, which is sort of on the coast. So yeah, very, very nice. There was a big Game of Thrones museum, and there was a big palace, and there was just lots and lots of nice things to do. Plus, it was only a 2.5-hour flight, which of course always helps. But yeah, it was a lovely trip. Thank you, and I managed to survive it. So all good news on that front.
And here you are. Now, when is your mom's birthday? What's the actual date, if you don't mind me asking?
My mum's birthday was the 24th, so the Monday.
Okay. The reason why I was asking is because when we were texting back and forth yesterday, the 27th was Amber's birthday. And I believe Kirsty's birthday is the 17th of June, correct?
Your memory for dates like this is it's unrivaled, my friend.
Hold on. The only reason why I remember that, because that's my sister's birthday. So I was like, boy, that's something that, again, as if we don't have enough in common, that we're always finding new things, almost 2 years later, that we have in common. I'm like, well, okay, his girlfriend's birthday is the same day as my daughter's. My sister. I said, wouldn't it be something? Because I know he's away for the week for his mom's birthday. Wouldn't it be something if his mom and my wife shared the same birthday? I was like, that would be something. But no, brother, I'm glad that you had a really good time. I'm glad that you survived, and you're back up and running, my friend. And thanks to everybody for the patience. Obviously, the show is getting up a little bit later than normal. Instead of me doing the show solo, I wanted to wait for Rob. Rob, I will wait for you, my friend. I will wait for you. And obviously, it's better as us as a duo, especially with all the mammoth stuff that we have to talk about, good sir. So, yes, there is a lot of Stardom stuff to talk about. However, Rob, we're going to do a little small sidetrack here that we tend to do. Of course. Have you been watching any? Yes, it's par for the course, right? Have you been watching any of this season's Dark Side of the Ring?
I caught a little bit of Abdullah the Butcher, and I caught maybe 2 or 3 minutes of the Bam Bam Bigelow one.
Funny you should mention Bam Bam Bigelow, which was, they're all fantastic. They do a great job. The Bam Bam Bigelow one aired this past week, and it was fantastic. And I was quickly reminded, Rob, of the time that Bam Bam Bigelow almost beat me up. Now, Rob, if it's okay with you, would you like for me to tell you and all of our fantastic listeners, friends and family, of the Stardom cast at the time that Bam Bam Bigelow almost beat me up.
Of course I want to hear about that time. Of course I do. I can't imagine anyone wanting to beat you up. So for Bam Bam Bigelow, notoriously nice guy Bam Bam Bigelow, to want to beat you up, amazing.
No, I had to, and I forgot about this story happened 17, 18 years ago, and maybe I just pushed it out of my mind. But so let me set the stage. So I think the whole entire reason why he didn't end my life right then and there when this happened is because I name dropped one Chris Candido. Obviously, if you remember from ECW, Chris Candido, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Shane Douglas were a part of the Triple Threat. So maybe about 2 weeks prior to my near-death experience from the Beasts of the East, I was on a whole bunch of shows in the Chicago area with one Chris Candido. At this point, Chris Candido had cleaned up his life. He got off the drugs, got off the pills, got off the alcohol, became really, really good friends with CM Punk. As you know, CM Punk, the person who trained me for professional wrestling. And Chris Candido took a liking pretty much right away, pretty much to everybody, because Chris is just an absolute great guy and somebody to this day that should be still should be celebrated just for how ahead of the game of wrestling that he was. But I remember doing these shows, and as soon as I would come back from the curtain on a majority of these shows, Chris would, first of all, there was 30 or 40, 50, there was like 30 or 40 people on these shows, and Chris was dressed to the nines. Button-down shirt, hair was perfect, nice shoes, dress pants. Outside of wearing like a tie, he was almost in like a full suit. There was like 30, 40 people in the crowd. So that's one thing I noticed, just how professional he was. So after pretty much every one of my matches on this little tour that I did of the Midwest, he would grab me as I was coming out of the curtain. He's like, "Hey, kid, can I give you some advice?" And I'm like, "Yes, Chris Candido, former champion in every big wrestling company." So he would tell me things like how to sell to the crowd and sell to the camera and stuff. I talk about why I love Mayu so much. It's because she knows where the camera is and where the crowd is, and she projects that selling. And then there was one time him and Ace Steel took me aside and they taught me how to do the rapid fire forearms that we see one Hazuki doing. I guess I'm tying this into Stardom after all. So Chris, what I'm trying to say is Chris was an absolute fantastic guy. I'm just so gracious with his time and his knowledge. And instead of you going to him, he's like, "Hey kid, can I give you some advice?" And after he would give you the advice, he would shake your hand and say, "Hey, thanks for taking my advice." I'm like, "No, thank you. You're going out of your way to give this young punk rookie advice. You're Chris Candido, for goodness sakes." So now, Rob, as you know, I am from a little town in Pennsylvania called Old Forge. Old Forge is known for their pizza. Again, I've said it on this podcast before. If you Google pizza capital of the world, Old Forge, Pennsylvania comes up. It's where I spent the first 30 years of my life. And I've worked at a pizza parlor. I still do on the weekends as one of my 42 side gigs. But at this point in my life, I was full-time at the pizza parlor. Now, one of my bosses was a very big jokester, prankster, or, would like to rib me a lot if we're going to go the wrestling terms. So it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. It wasn't that busy. He was bartending. I'm making pizza. And he comes in. He said, "Hey, how would you like to meet Bam Bam Bigelow?" Now, I'm 99% sure he's joking with me because he's always ribbing me. So I was like, "Oh, yeah, that'd be great." Well, he goes and leaves the kitchen. My buddy, who's prepping in the back kitchen, goes, "If you wrestled Bam Bam Bigelow, would you be able to beat him?" And I go, "Oh, I'd kick his ass. He's past his prime. He's out of shape. He wouldn't be able to deal with my European, Japanese, American style." I said, "I would kick his ass so bad." I must have said I would kick his ass 2 or 3 times. And just like a movie, Rob, my buddy starts pointing like, "Hey, turn around." Well, I turn around and guess who's 2 feet in front of me? Now, keep in mind, Rob, you've seen pictures of me when I graduated from the Ring of Honor dojo. I was not very intimidating. I was about 155 pounds soaking wet holding a brick. Now I'm a little bit over 200 pounds, but not that I'm a giant man to begin with. So I'm 155 pounds soaking wet, and there's Bam Bam Bigelow, the beast from the East, 300 pounds, tattooed on his head, the whole nine, right? Very intimidating looking individual. He starts rubbing his chin. He goes, "So you can kick my ass, huh?" I don't remember what I said, other than the fact that I was trying not to pee my pants, or I might have. And then he starts going on about how, you're going to kick my ass? Really? How are you going to kick my ass? And then I don't remember what I said. I must have blanked out. He goes, "Your boss told me that you just started wrestling on the indies." And I go, "Oh, yes. I was just on a bunch of shows with Chris Candido. He 180'd. "Oh, really? Oh, man, that's awesome. How's he doing?" "Oh, I heard he got clean." "Oh, that's fantastic." I'm like, "He gave me some advice." He goes, "Well, did you take his advice?" I go, "I sure did." He goes, that's great. It's great to hear that Chris is doing good. It's great that you're out there all over the place doing the indies and that you're taking advice from the veterans. He shook my hand and he said, and your pizza was fantastic. And out the door he went.
What a legend. What an absolute... Honestly, I am so happy that Bam Bam Bigelow is a nice guy. Like, I'm amazed that this didn't make it into the Dark Side of the Ring episode, because I feel like they could have done something, with all the tension and stuff. But, yeah, I still can't believe that you were suckered into telling people that you could beat up Bam Bam Bigelow. The man is enormous.
I didn't think he was there. That's why at the start of this segment, you're like, why would anybody beat you up? You're a nice guy. I'm like, oh no, I had this coming. I'm like, yeah, I must have said I can kick his ass 2 or 3 times. And my buddy's pointing, like, turn around. And there he was. Like, oh man. Like I said, I forget what I said. He was like, you really think you can kick my ass? And his volume got a little high. And then once I mentioned I was a bunch of shows with Chris Candido, he completely 180'd and told me good luck on the indies and great job taking advice from the veterans, and my pizza was fantastic. So,
well, there you go. I mean, like, I feel like we need to talk about this so-called friend that baited you into saying you could kick Bam Bam Bigelow's ass, knowing that Bam Bam Bigelow was there. Like,
he never really baited me. He's like, he basically just said, he's like, if you wrestled him, would you be able to? And I was insanely cocky at that time.
Well, we've all seen the pictures of you with that goatee. I mean, I feel like they go hand in hand, the goatee and the cockiness, my friend.
But that was that, my friend. But I'm glad that he spared my life and he didn't put me through the 500-degree pizza ovens that were about 5 feet behind me.
But yes, I'm glad you've started with that. That's probably made me giggle. But yes, obviously this is a Stardom podcast. We have got a phenomenal amount to talk about. I wish I had a better segue, to be perfectly honest, but there we are. As Matt said, thank you for your patience as you've sort of waited for this episode to do with the opening night of the 5-star. Ordinarily, Matt would have been an absolute hero and just done it on his own, but I desperately wanted to be a part of this one, so he agreed to wait. But before we delve into everything to do with the 5-star and everything that's come from the fact that we've had a Stardom press conference, which means just all of the gifable moments, Matt, what's coming up on our Patreon this week?
Rob Goodwin, my good friend, I would like to answer your question with a question. Do you love that Julia, good sir?
I am known to be partial to a Julia, yes.
Because we have a lot of Julia. Yesterday, the Julia 2022 5-star Grand Prix review, that went up in the Patreon feeds. Also, early on, or basically before the end of the month, which is vastly approaching, we will be doing a bonus alternate commentary of Julia challenging Shuri for the World of Stardom Championship. That came from Dream Queendom of last year. Not only one of the best Stardom matches I've ever seen, one of the best matches I've ever seen. So, Rob, fingers crossed. Him and I will be recording that in a handful of hours, but that will be in your Patreon feeds sometime before the end of the month. Also, which will be in your Patreon feeds by the end of the month will be our What If segment, which I know Rob absolutely loves, the What If fantasy booking. What if Julia did not get injured and she won the 2021 5-star Grand Prix? Also, the alternate commentary of Mayu versus Suzuki from the 2019 5-star Grand Prix. We released that last week, as well as our roundtable discussion with our good friend, one of the most handsome man in all of Joshi Wrestling, one Scotty Wrestling. We did our top 5 favorite 5-star Grand Prix matches. And so that's basically everything that is in your feed, and which will be coming up on your Patreon feed throughout the rest of the month of July. But coming up in August, which is next week, believe it or not, Rabbit, time is just a ticking, my friend. Coming up in August, we are doing a Saya Kamatani theme. Saya is obviously in the news quite a bit for Stardom. You know, we'll get into it with her injury. And this is something that Rob and I were actually planning on doing a few months ago. So we kind of had it in the bank of what we're going to do. So obviously, Saya is going to be on the shelf with some injury, but hopefully we can kind of bring her into everybody's lives in the month of August, as the Saya Kamatani theme is what we're doing. You still have, I believe, 1 or 2 days to vote for the bi-weekly podcast episode. And your choices are Saya Kamatani's Wonder of Stardom run, which I think is going to win the poll. Rob, it's like 60%, and I'm hoping it's going to win the poll. because I will absolutely love going back and watching those matches from her Wonder of Stardom run. The other options are Saya Kamatani and Utami Hayashishita, their run in the Goddess of Stardom tournament from last year, 2021 or 2022. Also, Saya's Cinderella win in 2021 and Saya's run in 2021 of the 5-star Grand Prix. So those are your options. There is still time to vote, so get your votes in. And also, we will be doing for the Summer of Saya, we'll be doing 4 matches for the alternate commentary. And Rob, would you like to let the listeners know what the 2 matches you have picked are?
Okay, well, I'm going to start with the match that probably surprises no one, and one that I feel like the more times we watch it, I'm just going to be even happier to cover it. And that is the match between Saya Kamatani and Hazuki from the Triangle Derby Finals. A fantastic match. In my eyes, the best match of a phenomenal run for Saya with the white belt. And, you know, it really did sort of reinforce the fact that Hazuki is just one of the best in Stardom. And hopefully we will see her with a singles title sooner rather than later, because I feel if anyone on the Stardom roster deserves it, it is Hazuki. So match number 1, Saya Kamatani versus Hazuki from the 4th of March 2023. And then my next one is one that I think, you know, again, from the white belt run. So, Matt, you're going to be watching these matches a couple of times. This is a match from that run that I feel often gets overlooked, despite the fact that it is a really, really good match. And that is against Utami Hayashishita from...
Those are the 2 matches that I picked. Unbelievable. two in a row. I just said 10 backups. Go ahead, sir.
I was just going to say, it's not like we're short of Saya Kamatani matches. Simply because the match the following night with Tam was so good. People often forget that she also put a banger on against Utami the night before. So I believe I've only seen that match once, whereas I've seen the Tam match a handful of times. And I'd like to go back to it, especially as obviously there's been some dissent between Aphrodite before everything was made up around Stardom Sunshine. So yeah, those are my 2 matches. I apologise, Matt, for the second month in a row I have taken the exact same matches as you, which I didn't was not my intent. But what about you? What are your matches for this Summer of Saya?
I was 99% sure you were going to take the Hazuki match. So I was like, all right, I know he's going to take that one. Fine. I'm like, I'm going to take the Utami match just because that was my planned final for the 5-star. Obviously that won't happen, and we'll get into, you know, that heartbreak later on. But I was like, that Utami match, it's like a 4.5, 4 3/4 star match. And it gets underlooked because how good the Mirai match and the Micah match and the Himika match. And that's why I was going to put it on there. However, good sir, you scooped it up. Not a problem. So we were going to continue with more Saya Kamatani Wonder of Stardom championship matches. We're going to go to the very first Dream Queendom, where she started the road to the Wonder of Stardom championship, where she defeats Tam Nakano in an absolute blistering main event. And Rob, to this day, I still don't know which Tam versus Saya match I like more, that one or the one from night 2 of World Climax. And that just goes to show the chemistry that those 2 have. So, that's my first match. My next match, I know this is an audio podcast and not a visual, but once I say it, I have a feeling that Rob is going to fist bump in the air or jump out of his seat, because I know he's going to be super excited to call this one. Rob, we're going to call the Generational Struggle 8-person tag match, the first one.
Yes.
The one that goes to the 30-minute time limit draw, where it's Saya, Utami, Micah, and Suzu versus Sherry, Tam, Mayu, and Julia. So that was kind of, I figured that would be my number 1 backup, because I know how much you would want to call that. Mm-hmm. So bravo, my friend. So this is going to be, so if I have this right, we're going to be calling 3 Saya Wonder matches. Versus Tam, where she wins the belt, versus Utami, versus Hazuki, which you just mentioned that's your favorite match of the run. I'll go one step further, saying that's my favorite Wonder match of all time, whether it's Io's run, Arissa's run, Momo's run, Julia's run. That is my favorite Wonder of Stardom match of all time. And then the instant classic from Korakuen Hall, maybe about a month or 2 ago, of that 30-minute time limit 8-person tag. So we've never done anything with that many wrestlers. So we have 8 people that we have to get over in that span of time. So I'm looking forward to calling it, and I'm looking forward to the challenge of that as well, my friend.
Absolutely. I mean, I was going to take a guess I did think you would go for the other Tam one, but I was convinced you were going to go Sai Kamatani Starlight Kid. But that's absolutely fine because there are going to be more Summers of Sire, I'm sure, and there's going to be more and more great matches to pick from, and having that one in the bank as well as having the Mirai one in the bank is very, very exciting. But I just wanted to shout out our fantastic patrons, and I can't remember if I did this on the last episode with us having 485 things to get through before I had to rush off and lose in a football match 5-2. Not that I'm bitter. But I'm just going to shout out some of our brand new patrons over on patreon.com/the Stardom Cast. Ben Lee, Beardface Killer, which again, outstanding name. Ella Dyer and John Wakeland, thank you so much for subscribing to our Patreon. We honestly appreciate every single one of you, and your support is phenomenal. Now, just before we get into everything, I'm just going to switch the order of things because a lot of the news coming out of Stardom this week is intrinsically linked to the 5-star opening night. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the show reviews first, because one of the big things to come out of that show has impacted the other sort of news items. So we'll go straight from the show reviews into that news before we go into our previews of what is coming up in the next couple of weeks. But Matt, before we do any of that, I just wanted to say, and just wanted to let you know live on air, that this may well be my last podcast on the Stardom Cast.
What?
I know. As you know, I have just come back from Croatia, and my lovely girlfriend said that she would take me to my brother's house to drive me to the airport. And this was at 3:45 in the morning, so neither of us are at our best that time in the morning. And I thought, rather sneakily, do you know what? I'm going to ask her for winners of night one at the 5-star Grand Prix, because she's...
I see where you're going with. You scared me. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I was like, wait a minute. We just said everything we're doing on Patreon. Hold on. You keep talking. Oh, my God. I have a heart attack here. I know where you're going. Go. Holy jeez.
My apologies. So, you know, she's tired. She's... maybe I'll be able to get her to say some stupid picks by accident because she doesn't follow Stardom. And I'll be able to get one over her because, you know, I should do. And I'm scared that she's going to beat me because I do a podcast and she doesn't know who these people are. Matt, not since the great wars of history has there been such a slapping as Kirsty defeating me in this 5-star pick'ems. I'm not going to go through what she got, or who she got, should I say, but
I have it.
To my...
I have the total.
Oh, thank you very much. To my paltry 3 correct answers. Out of 10 matches, I got 3 correct. Kirsty, who does not watch Stardom, and I cannot stress this enough, she does not watch it, got 6 out of 10. She got every single major one correct. I don't...
Do you want me to make you feel worse?
No, not even slightly.
I'm going to, because this is... So, folks, again, this is what we're doing. So, a day or two before all these shows, I'm going to text Rob and be like, hey, I need you and Kirsty's picks. And obviously, I'll have my picks and Amber's picks. And then each show, we're going to tally everything up. So, I mean, we're already into it. We may as well go into it. So, Kirsty, okay, got 6. Rob had 3. You know who else got 3? Your co-host, who also does the Stardom Cast. So if you're adding that up, mine and Rob's total scores, who watched every Stardom match for the last 2 years. Rob has written a book. I have countless of notebooks on these matches. Our combined score tied his girlfriend's. Now, to even make matters even worse, Amber got 4. So me and you, buddy, at least we're
no.
At least we're together as always, buddy, in the basement. So I have 3, you have 3, Amber has 4, and Kirsty has 6.
She is going to be insufferable when she gets in from work tonight and she finds out that she's won. Like the first night, obviously. She is going to be absolutely insufferable. But I never thought I'd say this. Thank God for Natsukatora. We'll get into all of our picks and things, and once we actually get into our review of night one. But quite pleasingly, actually, Stardom World has upped its game when it comes to uploading shows. And we got an absolute volley of shows uploaded in preparation for the 5-star. We got the show from the 17th, the show from the 19th, the show from the 20th, and the show from the 21st, all uploaded within, I'd say, within 2 days of them being live, Matt. So the fact that that's happening, hopefully, it means that we're not going to have any more instances of the obscene backlog we had during the Golden Week tour. So what we're going to do, as always, because we've got these 4 shows to talk about before we get into sort of the main event of the 5-star Grand Prix opening night, is I will go through all the results and sort of we'll talk about some of the cherry-picked matches. But before we start any of that, I think it's safe to say, Matt, that Meltier might have had the best run of 4 shows in Stardom
1000%.
house show history.
1000%. And obviously, we'll get it. We're going to do it. Well, we're already talking about it. Let's get into it now. I think that once Tam drops this red belt, which I think will happen at the end of the year, I would be hard pressed to see them not putting Tam and Natsupoi back together as a full-time tag team. They were great in their run. That match where they beat FWC, I believe it's at Stardom X Stardom last year for the Goddess belts, is one of the best Stardom tag matches I've ever seen. And I think their tag run got cut short. I don't think anybody expected them to drop the belts as fast as they did to 7-Up, but then they looked like they had other directions for Tam. But I still think that, and this is no disrespect to Rose Gold or FWC or any of the teams coming off these shows, Meltier is the best tag team in all of Stardom. It's wrestling. I say it all the time. It's subjective. You can like what you like. I know I can be partial towards Meltier, but you said it yourself, my friend. These 4 shows, they were absolutely fantastic. And I would, once it is time for Tam Nakano to pass the red belt, again, I think it'll happen at the end of the year. I would love to see Meltier be back together as a full-time tag team and then get like a 7, 8, 9-month run with those Goddess belts, Rob. But yeah, they were unbelievable on these shows.
They were. They certainly had a lauded run against the likes of May and Suzu, and against Azumi and Saya as well. Both really standout matches, and the matches we're going to be talking about a lot more in a moment. But we'll start with the show from the 17th of July, the culmination, the end of the Summer North Tour, Night 4 from Sapporo, Hokkaido, from the Chateaure's Gato Kingdom, Sapporo, fantastically named arena, in front of 509 people. And the first thing we should note, Matt, and perhaps the most important thing on this entire show, is the result to this opening match. Singles match.
Damn right.
Saya Iida defeated Yuna Mizumori with the Iidabashi in 6 minutes and 50 seconds. Honestly, Matt, I have not been as happy with a result, I don't think, in wrestling history. Well done, Saya. Thoroughly deserved. Between that and your job on commentary on the 5-star Grand Prix, you did a fantastic job. We then had another singles match, Momo Watanabe defeating Hanako in 6 minutes with the B-Driver. We then had a tag team match, FWC defeating the Queen's Quest team of Lady C and Miyu Amasaki, with Koguma getting the pin with a diving body press in 10 minutes and 34 seconds. We then had a 6-woman tag team match, the Club Venus team of Mina Shirakawa, Mariah May and Waka Tsukiyama defeating Maika Meisera and Suzu Suzuki, with Mina Shirakawa getting the win with the glamorous driver Mina over Meisera in 14 minutes and 17 seconds. We then had a 6-woman tag team match with the Donna Del Mondo team, of Julia Tekla and Mai Sakurai, the Bari Bari Bombers, defeating the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Hanan and Momo Kogo, with Julia getting the pinfall over Momo. with the Glorious Driver in 10 minutes and 57 seconds. Perhaps the match of the entire run of these shows comes in our semi-main event, a tag team match. Natsupoi and Tam Nakano, Meltier, and the Queen's Quest team of Saya Kamitani and Azumi went to a 15-minute time limit draw before in our main event, the God's Eye team went on to... let's try that again. The God's Eye team of Amisori Mirai and Saki Kashima defeated the Uedatai team. Sorry, it's because I'm looking at Starlight Kid. The Uedatai team of Starlight Kid, Natsukatora, and Ruaka, with Saki Kashima getting a very therapeutic victory, a very cathartic victory over Ruaka with the Mai emblem in 10 minutes and 24 seconds. Now, Matt, I know there's a lot on this show in particular that you would like to talk about.
Yeah, this was, out of the 4 shows, I think the best one. And it started off with, outside of a Stardom pay-per-view, Rob, I don't think there was a better opening match in the history of Stardom than Saya versus Yuna. I mean, this thing, not just the result, like obviously, and I put over Yuna Mizumori a lot lately on this show, just for how much she's improving, how perfect she fits in with Cosmic Angels. And, I hope she does get that win where she joins. Obviously, she's gotten a fantastic shape. And again, sometimes this podcast turns into the Saida tribute podcast or episode. So we all love Saida. But like, all joking aside, and as much love as we have for both Yuna and Saida, this was a fantastic match. I mean, we went under 7 minutes. Like, these two were shot out of a cannon. It was like chops, lariats. It was like, we're getting this much violence in match 1? Like, holy geez. Like, these two went in with something to prove. Like, look, we know we're on the lower tier of the roster. They're giving us 7 minutes to do our thing. Let's make sure that we go out there, we put on a show, we hit hard, that there's no missteps, there's no holes in our game, and these two just absolutely beat the crap out of each other. The psychology was good. It was a 50-50 match as the match was getting towards the finish. And again, you have a 7-minute match, the opener, you're not going to have a lot of time to build to the finish. But I wasn't sure who was going to win. And then Ida had the Ida Bashi on, and I was just looking at the ref, and I'm like, please don't kick out. Please don't kick out. And all due respect to Yuna Mizumori, but we just absolutely love Saida. And I'm like, man, not only did Saida get a win, she showed out here. This was great. I had this at 3 3/4 stars, and I would love to see these two run it back with maybe an extra minute or two, just maybe to build towards the finish even more. But I absolutely love this match. And again, if you guys have seen a better opening non-pay-per-view match in Stardom history, let me know. I would love to watch it. But for my money and my memory, which isn't too good, but this was the best opener I've seen in Stardom.
Yeah, it was a really, really good opener. I think, again, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Everybody knows how good Saida is. I do wonder how long it is before she's given that tap on the shoulder, because, again, when she got injured back in 2021, it did feel like she was on the cusp of something. So it's always nice to see her get a victory, because she's a very, very underappreciated wrestler on that roster. Yuna Mizumori continues to impress. We will talk a little bit more about the journey to joining Cosmic Angels with her, because that apparently isn't over, which is ever so slightly disappointing. But, if this is something she wants, she looks in fantastic condition. So fingers crossed, because I'm very much a fan of Yuna, and I'd say that in recent times, she's probably the one on the Stardom roster that's grown on me the most. Let's move on then to that time limit draw. Because let's be honest, Matt, it's the match we all want to talk about. And honestly, I don't think anything me and Matt are going to say will do it justice. It is that good.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one, too, I even have marked here. I don't think we've ever done kind of a quote-unquote house show match for, like, our alternate commentary. So this is definitely one that I would definitely like to go back sometime in time, partner. I have this earmarked as well, as much as you have earmarked Utami defending against Hazuki, because I know you've said that a zillion times that you want to do that as an alternate commentary. So sometime in the future, brother, that we definitely have to get those two matches. Again, Meltier, absolutely fantastic here. Obviously, Saya Kamatani, her main partner is Utami. Obviously, with Aphrodite, they had the absolutely fantastic run in last year's Goddess of Stardom tournament, making it all the way to the final. But, I mean, let's talk about how fantastic Azumi is, which we do quite often, and rightfully so. Obviously, Azumi is fantastic as a singles wrestler. She's great in these roles as like the Queen's Quest, whether it's a 6-person or 8-person, especially if it's Saya, Utami, and Azumi, the A++ team. Now, Azumi usually teams up with Miyu as Ochu line, and we've seen Miyu's progression and improvements quite a bit since she's teamed with Azumi. And Azumi has really good chemistry with Lady C. I'm a huge fan of when they do that double stomp off Lady C's shoulders. And here she is teamed with Saya Kamatani, which it's going to be good because those two are great. So it just goes to show you like how great Azumi is at a singles match, at a multi-person match, or a tag match. And it doesn't matter which member of Queen's Quest she's teaming with. Like, the matches are always fantastic. And this one was absolutely insane, out of the park. I like how Meltier, when they start the matches out, whether it's Natsupoi or Tam, or whether it's even the multi-person matches with Yuna or Sorianu, where they're kind of getting bested in the beginning of the match. And they realize, oh, wait a minute, we're probably the best tag team in this company. So they'll use teamwork, like 60 seconds into them taking heat or showing shine. And they use the teamwork to get the advantage. And I love that. Like, yeah, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't that make sense? It reminded me of the time when the Rock and Roll Express wrestled Flair and Wyndham. And Flair and Wyndham were just getting up on like Ricky Morton. And then Robert Gibson would come in and be like, let's just do some tag team work to get the advantage. Like, we're the tag team here. And I love how Meltier does that, even though with Tam being the crowning jewel of Stardom, being the red belt champion, we get great Tam versus Saya stuff. Obviously, they have fantastic chemistry, which we talked about earlier. And then we also forget sometimes how great Azumi and Natsupoi are. I mean, they're two of the 3 wrestlers that really held the high-speed division up the last 2.5, 3 years. The Meltier double super kick, and then they transition that into the double German suplex. I still don't understand how they hit that perfect every time, and the ring positioning is perfect every time. Like, nobody's getting bumped into each other or thrown on the ropes or German suplex into like the turnbuckle. It just absolutely amazes me. I liked how, again, Meltier, Rob, probably my favorite move in all of wrestling, the Meltier hand-holding dive. So they go to do it, right? I'm getting all excited. Saya blocks it, and I'm like, oh, what a jerk. But then Saya does her picture-perfect springboard dive, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. But of course, they build up towards it for them eventually hitting the hand-holding dive. I liked how when Saya was going for the Star Crusher, Tam was able to slip out and then lock in that Northern Cross submission. I really like how she's adding that submission hold into her game. We've seen her getting a few wins with that, or basically kind of tease submission holds there. Love how every time that Saya is in trouble, Azumi makes the save, and she does by violently double stomping on whoever her opponent is. It's like, I just don't understand how she still has ankles. Like, she does the double stomp just running, and then she does the one from the top rope, and we've seen her do it on top of Lady C, which I mentioned before, and the cage. Like, the fact that, like, Azumi, I mean, maybe because she's so young, I'm just afraid, like, 4 or 5 years, like, she's going to be, like, walking like Abdul the Butcher because of just what she's doing to her ankles on the double stomp. Again, maybe she has all those Dr. Scholl's inserts in her shoes. If that's the case, Dr. Scholl's needs to sponsor Azumi, throw a couple bucks. And then at the end, we just get suplexes all around. Saya hits the Star Crusher as the time expires. Again, this is incredible. I have this at 4.25 stars. And as far as 2-on-2 straight up tag, Rob, this is my favorite tag match in Stardom this year.
You're not the only one to say that either. I know that quite a few people who have seen this match have said just how damn good it is and how out of place it is on, again, for lack of a better phrase, a Road to show. That this could have easily been, the top of the card at a Korakuen, or even on pay-per-view, 3rd or 4th from the top. Obviously, again, we'll get into it, they were obviously building towards Tam and Saya both for the 5-star and potentially beyond. But Azumi as well, you've mentioned how good she is. Yes, she's fantastic. One of the best high-speed wrestlers in the world. However, especially with Tam, and then again with Mariah May, I feel like she's introducing little differences, little subtle differences to her wrestling arsenal to show that she doesn't just have to be a high-speed wrestler. Yes, when you've got that amount of talent, absolutely have it in your matches. But also, how good is it that Azumi is starting to adapt to that more main event style? because the idea of an Azumi white belt match that's different to, her high-speed title defenses or something like that really genuinely excites me, because that, I feel, is the next step for her. She's a phenomenal wrestler, a phenomenal talent that can wrestle at an astronomical pace. But I can't wait to see that next progression where Azumi breaks through into that main event, because honestly, especially after this match and after the Mariah May match, I do feel like it's only a matter of months before that happens.
Rob, you're the obviously the smarter of the two here. Has Azumi ever had a Wonder of Stardom championship match?
No, I don't believe so. I know she's challenged for the SWA a couple of times. I don't believe that she's ever had a white belt match. I'm sure that someone is now screaming at the podcast going, She has!
Against EO. Matt, how do you not know against EO?
God damn it! God damn it! Come on! I am just going to check. So if you want to carry on talking about the other matches that you want to talk about from this show, I'll let you know in a sec.
I do. Just real quick, match 4 and match 5. I want to talk while you're just getting that information. So once you find it, feel free to cut me off. But match 4, the Club Venus versus Team Small, Medium, and Large, or whatever that they're calling themselves. Team Suzu, Team Micah, Team Maysair, whatever you want to call them. I thought that match was great. I actually gave it 4 stars, and I put it kind of on the must-see matches from this tour. I think it's Little, Medium, and Big, I think is the name, the makeshift team. But I thought the match was great. I love seeing Micah and Mina go at it, because the two of them just hit really, really hard. And obviously they have a little bit of past history, especially with Mina and Himika being so close. Mariah May really is adapting towards a little bit more towards of a high-speed style. So her stuff with Maysair was really good. Waka, again, I don't know what it is. I think Suzu Suzuki has her contacts in wrong, and she thinks that Waka's Natsupoi, because it seems like a lot of these past shows that Suzu Suzuki just beating the crap out of poor Waka. But yeah, I know there was a lot of stuff that Stardom dropped on us the past couple days, and kudos to the fantastic folks over at Stardom World, because all these shows were fantastic, and they all were vital to watch, as you can appreciate night 1 of the 5-star even more. And by that, I mean you go into the next match, match 5, with Mayu, Momokogo, and Hanan versus Julia Tekla and Mai Sakurai, the artist Stardom champions. The match was really, really good, but they do a great job with Mayu and Julia teasing, saying, hey, you have a New Japan title, I have a New Japan title. Let's meet in the finals to see which one of us is better and which title is stronger. And then even Mayu told Hazuki, like, hey, you're my partner, you're my friend, but if you beat me on night 1, I will give you a shot at the IWGP Championship. So there was a really good reason for Stardom to get these shows up as fast as they did. And if you were able to watch them and don't really care too much about sleep like I do, and were able to get them, you were able to enjoy night 1 of the 5-star that much more. And if you haven't had a chance to watch them due to time, that's what Rob and I are going to do. We're going to accentuate what was obviously one of the best wrestling shows of the year. So as I close out the show, Rob, did we get an answer there, good sir?
We did. Azumi has never challenged for a Wonder or World of Stardom title. Again, I can't see her getting through this year without having one. It would surprise me greatly if she doesn't beat Mariah in the tournament. To set up a title shot later on in the year. I feel like, the 5-star is your carte blanche to sort of set up title challenges, as proved by the result from night 1. So I think you could do wonders for the likes of Azumi. She doesn't have to win it, but, to give her that shot up in the upper echelon of, they've already shown that white belt matches can headline pay-per-views. Mariah versus Azumi would be absolutely fantastic. And I've made my thoughts very, very clear on Hanan. I don't, whether that shot is this year or whether it's next year. I feel like she's on the cusp as well. But let's
hold on, Rob. I got to put you over. You didn't even realize what you just did there. You just said if Azumi beat Mariah, it would do wonders.
Nice
for her. You did. He is so good. This is why 20 minutes ago when he said he's leaving the podcast, I thought I was to call 911. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. Rob Derwin is so good that he does those things and didn't even notice.
Honestly, just, I'm so damn good. The show from the 90 then was Stardom Amori 2 days in Hirosaki, from Hirosaki, Amori, Japan, in the Amori Prefecture Martial Arts Hall in front of 388 people. The results are as follows. Ruaka defeated Yuna Mizumori in singles action with the freezer bomb in 7 minutes and 39 seconds. In tag team action, Hanako and Maika defeated the Stars team of Momokogo and Saya Ida, with Maika, not debuting, but hitting the Enbu Goho, which I believe translates to something like the Flaming Drop, or something like that. She hits it on Momokogo, wins in 7 minutes and 20 seconds. The Stars team of Hanan, Hazuki, and Mayu Iwatani defeated the Queen's Quest team. And Koguma, sorry, how could I forget Koguma? Defeated the Queen's Quest team of Azumi, Lady C, Miyu Amasaki, and Saya Kamatani, with Hanan getting the victory over Lady C with the 17 roll-up in 10 minutes and 30 seconds. We then had a tag team match with Rose Gold. I'm on the wrong day. There we go. With Rose Gold, Mariah May, and Mina Shirakawa defeating the God's Eye team of Amisuri and Mirai in 12 minutes and 54 seconds, with Mina Shirakawa getting the victory with the Glamorous Collection. Mina, in the second time limit draw of this run, Melty, the Cosmic Angels team of Natsupoi and Tam Nakano, and the team of Meisera and Suzu Suzuki went to a 15-minute time limit draw. And then in your main event, the Oedetai team of Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe, and Starlight Kid defeated the Donna Del Mondo Barry Bombers team of Julia, Mei Sakurai, Tekla, and Julia in 12 minutes and 14 seconds, inevitably setting up an Artist of Stardom title shot later down the line. Matt, what would you like to talk about from this show?
I would like to talk about matches 4 and 5, the two tag matches. I thought it was really cool that we basically got a non-title rematch of Rose Gold versus the New Eras. I thought the match where Rose Gold beat the New Eras for the tag belts was really, really good. And this was just a shade below it. I thought, again, an excellent match. Excellent showing with Mina Mirai. Ami Sourei looked really good here. It really seems like since Ami Sourei took the pinfall on Mina when Rose Gold won the tag belts, it really seemed like Ami Sourei's really got something to prove. Well, we've been seeing her come out more aggressive. Obviously, she came out super aggressive and kicked out of a combination from Tora, which we'll talk about on the first night of the 5-star Grand Prix. That really, I didn't expect her to kick out. She's showing a lot more fire. And I'm really interested to see what Ami Sourei does the rest of this tournament coming out, because she looked really, really good here. Out of the 4 wrestlers, I thought she was the MVP of the match. Not that Mariah May, Mina, or Mina, Mariah May, and Mirai. Say that 3 times fast. Mariah May, Mina, they were fantastic as always, but I think they did a good job highlighting Ami Sourei in that match, Rob. And I actually had it at 3 3/4 stars.
Impressive. Now, I haven't actually had a chance to watch anything from this show, so I have got a watch list the length of my arm to catch up on from these house show matches. I'll tell a lie. I have seen the Melty versus Meisera and Suzu Suzuki match.
Well, let's talk about it, good sir.
I mean, what is there to say? I mean, you take everything that we loved about the Melty, Saya Kamatani, and Azumi match, and you put it here where you've got such a disparity between Meisera's pace and speed and Suzu Suzuki's brutality. Like, everything was so much fun. You know, the chemistry between Melty, but also the growing chemistry between Meisera and Suzu Suzuki. And I'm almost sad that the chances are they are going to be broken up when they inevitably join factions, because I think over the past couple of months, they've grown to have a really, really, really good chemistry. It's made me want to see Suzu Suzuki versus Tam for the red belt. And obviously we are going to see that as a sort of a prelude match in the 5-star Grand Prix, where I do think Suzu will beat Tam, because I do think they are hot on Suzu Suzuki. And yes, she's had a little bit of a cold start being in basically throwaway and undercard tags, but I feel like this 5-star could be the breakout for Suzu. And these little brief exchanges between Tam and Suzu, absolutely fantastic. And then you threw Natsupoi in there, who I don't feel like we give enough credit to, because she's so much more than high speed, as I was talking about with the Izumi exchanges in the previous show. Here and again against Starlight Kid on the first night of the 5-star, she showed that she can wrestle a main event style match. Her match against Chihiro Hashimoto from Sendai Girls, I thought that was another example of Natsupoi showing that she can go in any sort of match, and I still stand by the fact that she has one of the best German suplexes, because there's no way a lady of that stature should be able to launch people 3 times her size over her head with the ease that she does. But overall, this is another one that's an absolute must-see. It's probably just a notch below the Izumi and Saya Kamitani tag match, but literally by a whisker. Definitely go out of your way to see this one as well, Matt.
Yeah, I kind of want to back up on something you said, that you think they're going to break up Suzu and Mei Sarah once they join factions. I know, obviously, because you were away and writing 84 books and you're insanely super busy. Yeah, on the one, you probably get a chance to see it, but on the one show they did Julia, Mei Sakurai, and Tekla versus Micah, Suzu, and Mei Sarah. So again, that's kind of teasing like that Micah's having her own faction. But at the end, they kind of tease that Micah's going to help bring over Suzu Suzuki and Mei Sarah over to Donald Del Mundo. And if anybody knows about joining, having one faction as a giant supergroup, it's Donald Del Mundo. Again, a year and a half ago, we had Julia, Mirai, Shuri, Tekla, Mei Sakurai, Micah, and Himika. So there might be a chance that sometime going into the fall, Rob, Donald Del Mundo may look like Julia, Tekla, Mei Sakurai, Micah, Suzu Suzuki, and Mei Sarah. That's kind of what they teased on this one show, buddy. So there is a possibility that the two of them may stay a tag team and they might be part of Donald Del Mundo. I don't know.
Don't get me wrong. I would be extremely happy about that. And maybe I'm just looking, the old adage is don't never judge a book by its cover, but because they are so different in both style and in look, I just don't see them in the same faction. But I think that might just be me. But even so, a fantastic match. And, I feel like Mei Sarah has sort of been a little bit of a victim of being sort of shuffled towards the bottom of the card, despite how good she is, and despite everyone assuming that she was going to be the one to dethrone Izumi on that mammoth 400 plus day reign with a high speed title. Hopefully, whatever happens, whether she stays with Suzu Suzuki, whether she makes out on her own, whatever she does, I just hope that she's able to reach that point again, because I feel like after getting rid of that ring rust, having not wrestled for 18 months or whatever it was before her return, I think she's gone from strength to strength. And Suzu Suzuki, again, I'm not going to say I'm going to put my house on it, because I am notoriously poor at predictions, but I'd be very surprised if Suzu isn't one of Tam's losses in the 5-star and goes on to have a red belt match, because let's be perfectly honest, that would slap and everyone would love it. In terms of anything else on the card, Matt, would you like to talk about anything else in particular, or shall we go ahead to the next show?
No, I just want to say that I agree with you. This match, I gave it 4.25 stars as well, but I like the Izumi Saya match just a little bit better. But yes, again, if you have not seen, majority of these shows or any of these matches, definitely go out of your way to see the 2 male tier tag matches, because this one was fantastic. But yes, sir, I am ready when you are for the show on the 20th.
Let's do this then. So, Stardom Mori, 2 days in Hachinohe.
God bless you. God bless you.
Hashinoe. It's still an Amori. From the 20th of July, 2023, from Amori, Japan, in the U-Tree first floor multi-purpose big hall in front of 392 people. The results are as follows. The Uedatai team of Ruaka and Starlight Kid defeated Hanako and Suzu Suzuki in 7 minutes and 24 seconds, with Ruaka getting the pin with the freezer bomb. We also had Rose Gold, Mariah May, and Mina Shirakawa defeating the Stars team of Momo Kogo and Saya Ida in 8 minutes and 37 seconds. Mariah May getting the pinfall over Momo Kogo with the happily ever after. We had the God's Eye team of the New Eras, Amisori and Mirai, defeating the Ueretai team of Momo Watanabe and Natsukatora via disqualification in 11 minutes and 2 seconds, which I don't mind, to be fair, if it's not all the time. It's just when it is all the damn time. We then had a 4-way high-speed battle with Koguma defeating Azumi, Meisera, and Tekla in 6 minutes and 34 seconds, getting the victory over Tekla with the schoolboy. We then had a 6-woman tag team match. The Donna Del Mondo team of Julia Maika and Mei Sakurai defeating the Queen's Quest team of Lady C, Miyu Amasaki, and Lady C, with Maika getting the pin with the aforementioned Embu Goho in 10 minutes and 13 seconds. And then in our main event, Hanan Hazuki and Mayu Iwatani defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Natsupoi and Tam Nakano and the Cosmic Angels Want to Be, I think that's fair, maybe, with the diving senton Hazuki getting the pin in 15 minutes and 59 seconds over Yuna Mizumori. Matt, I know the chances are you are going to want to talk about that main event tag match simply because I know how much you love that team of Mayu, Hazuki, and Hanan. But what else should people be looking to check out from this show?
The whole show was solid, but you did mention about the DQ. I think Tora gets DQ'd in every match here. So it's just like, okay, they probably don't want her to eat any L's going into the 5-star, because I think, and we mentioned it last week on our preview, that going into the final night that she's going to be one of the block leaders. So I see what they're doing there, but it's kind of robbing like really good matches. Like again, you have Momo and Tora here versus the New Eras, and like just as the match is getting going and the New Eras are really starting to come back on their comeback, Tora's like, no, you don't. I'm just gonna start hitting you with weapons. But I get it, but I'm like, oh man. The 4-way high speed match was really, really good. The co-main event was solid as well. If you're going to see 2 matches on the show, definitely do the Queen's Quest versus Donald Del Mundo co-main event. But yeah, let's talk about this main event. Obviously, we talked about how much we're enjoying Yuna Mizumori and how much she's improved over the past few months. And obviously, she's teaming with the MVPs of this tour, Tam and Natsupoi, and they're taking on Mayu, Hanan, and Hazuki, 3 wrestlers that we absolutely love, despite the theme change to both Hanan and Hazuki. But we realize they're so good in the ring that we will forgive them. But however, we will not forget, especially Hanan's. But yeah, I thought this was really, really good. I was a big fan of that. The Stars team they brought back from time to time, and they've been doing it. The Freedom rocket launcher. Whenever they're setting it up, I'm like, oh boy, here it goes. It never hits as hard as it does on Chelsea Green, and maybe it never should.
Oh God!
But it's like every time I see him set it up, and it's always a different pairing. And always, obviously, the Freedom, the original one was Io and Kyrie launching Mayu into poor Mrs. Matt Cardona. But I always get flashbacks to that, but this one was pretty good. This one hits Yuna right in the chest, and then Hazuki hits the top rope senton. But Hazuki and Yuna Mizumori, to the shock of absolutely no one, they beat the crap out of each other here. Yuna with her forearms and her lariats, and Hazuki with her entire body because she's Hazuki. It's just,
no days off Hazuki. I've told you she's got this 5-star tournament that she's got where she's going to be wrestling in brutal 15-minute matches. But no. It's a 6-woman tag main event that doesn't really have any wider stipulation. Doesn't matter. I am Hazuki. I have no days off.
Yeah, and one thing too, after I watched, I think it was the second or third match from this show, is I put something out on Twitter, and I think this is one of the reasons why we're such a good podcast, Rob, is we see things in wrestling that not anybody else really does. And the thing that I notice is Hazuki's tan game is 5-star level, pun intended, and it's almost on Julia level. And who won the 5-star last year, Rob?
Wow. Okay. This is certainly an interesting conspiracy theory. I like it.
So there it is, folks. The tan game is so important in wrestling. Let me tell you. But obviously, Hazuki looks like $1,000,000. She's so violent here. I'm a big fan of when Hazuki and Mayu in these multi-person matches, they do their double suicide dive. Again, Mayu has one of the best suicide dives I've ever seen in wrestling, and Hazuki's is really, really good as well. But again, like as a wrestler, it boggles my mind that they hit the ropes at the same time and they come and they hit like double clean dives. But maybe just because I'm very uncoordinated and nowhere near as athletic as any of these wrestlers in Stardom on my best day and their worst. But like the fact they're hitting the ropes with that speed and they're not ricocheting the ropes off each other, just it boggles my mind. But they go for it the first time and Yuna cuts it off. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. They had Yuna cut off that big dive, not Tam, not Natsupoi, not a Meltier. It was cool that they gave Yuna that spot to get her stuff over. I thought that was really cool. Then eventually they build up to it and they hit it. Obviously the stuff with Mayu and Natsupoi is great, and Mayu and Tam, they have that unfinished business, which we will see their match in the 5-star, probably go to a time limit draw. But regardless, we haven't seen a singles match with the two of them. Hanan here was great. Like she comes in for the comeback and just judo throws everybody. You know, you're judo throwing Yuna, you're judo throwing Natsupoi, just making your way to the top of the card. You're really getting one or two up on the World of Stardom champion in Tam at just 18 years old. I really liked how they highlighted Hanan in that spot. But again, the finish was a pretty safe Freedom rocket launcher. I guess as safe as you get. And then Hazuki hits the senton on Yuna. This was the match of the show for me. I had this one at 4 stars, Rob.
Yeah, it was certainly the one that stands out on this card. Again, the card is absolutely fine. The card is actually good, but this main event, if you are short of time in your desperate desire to get to the 5-star, that is the match you absolutely need to see, because I feel like the chemistry, especially between Hanan, Hazuki, and Mayu, is unparalleled in Stars at the moment. And that's no disrespect to the likes of Koguma, who, of course, you know, they challenged for the trios or the Artist of Stardom title not long ago. I still feel like Hanan's chemistry with the likes of Hazuki and Mayu is better, or stronger, shall I say, not better, because Koguma's still great. And again, Yuna Mizumori doing wonders for herself. I think she's looking better and better and better. Almost a completely different wrestler than we saw, who debuted back in New Blood, if you remember, Matt, with a lot of pineapples and things like that, which is fine. I'm not saying that's bad, but you look at that Yuna Mizumori, and I'm not just talking looks, you look at Yuna Mizumori now, she wrestles in a completely different way. She wrestles in a lot more of a different style and is relying less and less and less and less on comedy. And I'm not saying she shouldn't bring out that comedy at certain times, depending on your opponent, but it's nice to see that she has got this very strong other side of her game that she can go to as well. And hopefully, once we, navigate the murky waters of how she's going to join Cosmic Angels, and once she actually does join Cosmic Angels, we'll see a little bit of a push for her, because I think she's done tremendous work on these undercards of these on these Road 2 shows.
And thank God for that, Rob, because that's what Stardom needs. They need more fantastic wrestlers on this roster.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Holy
we move on then to the final show before the 5-star Grand Prix, and that was Stardom in Sendai from Sendai Pit in Miyagi, Japan, from the 21st of July 2023, in front of 357 people. The card is as follows. We had Momo Kogo getting a victory over Lady C and Yuna Mizumori, pinning Yuna Mizumori with a La Magistral. The God's Eye team of Amisori and Mirai, the New Eras, defeated the Uedatai team of Momo Watanabe and Starlight Kid by disqualification in 10 minutes and 51 seconds. Not the only time we're going to say that about Uedatai. The Queen's Quest team of Azumi Miyu Amasaki and Saya Kamatani defeated the Stars team of Hanan, Mayu Iwatani, and Saya Ida, with guess who eating the pinfall? Saya Ida eating a diving double foot stomp from Azumi in 10 minutes and 4 seconds. The next match saw a tag team match with Hazuki and Kagome FWC defeating the Uedatai team of Natsukatora and Ruaka, BMI 2000, via disqualification in less than 7 minutes, 6 minutes and 38 seconds to be precise. We then had Mei Seira, Suzu Suzuki and Maika defeating the Barry Bombers team, or the Donna Del Mondo team of Mei Sakurai, Tekla and Julia, with Suzu Suzuki getting the pinfall over Mei Sakurai in 9 minutes and 57 seconds with a tequila shot. And then in your main event, we had the Cosmic Angels team of Natsupoi, Tam Nakano and Saori Anou defeating the Cosmic Angels team of Mariah May and Mina Shirakawa and Hanako, with Saori Anou getting the pin over Hanako with the Fisherman Suplex in 12 minutes and 26 seconds. First things first, Matt. Main event, Hanako. How do you think she did?
Well, I hate correcting you, sir, but you said the Cosmic Angels team versus the Cosmic Angels team. So it was only one Cosmic Angels team, and the finish of the match was not the Fisherman Suplex. It was the Temper Tandra, which is like the flipping neckbreaker thing that Ami Sohrei does. So
I apologize.
Sorry, my friend. Hey, we're a team, my friend. That's what happens. When one of us, misses something, the other one comes back with a Tamna kind of like spin kick. I thought Hanako was pretty good here. Saori Anou, her chemistry with her, there was a couple things that were just a little bit off. Like their timing was a little bit off, but Saori Anou did a great job covering up for the little mistakes. Hanako is a rookie. It's going to happen. Maybe Saori Anou may have went a half a step too fast, but just goes to show just the veteran and how great Saori Anou is, that anything that got a little hiccup, which there was a couple back to back, that could kind of derail the match, almost like the domino effect. But Saori Anou was able to stay everything keep on the course. So I thought that was good. Again, Tam Natsupoi teaming with anybody. They were the MVPs of this tour. And this wasn't the best match of the tour, but Rob, it had maybe the greatest move, maybe ever in wrestling. Now, have you seen this match yet, good sir?
I have not.
It's not a must. It's not a must see. It was good. The best match of the show was the co-main event with the Maika, Mei Seira and Suzu versus Julia, Mei Sakurai and Tekla. If you're going to watch one match from the show, watch this one. Watch that one. But again, this main event was really good. Now, Rob, I love the Meltier hand-holding dive. I have never, in my almost 2 years of doing the show, I have never circled something and highlighted so much and had a note saying, you must talk about this on the podcast. So they go for the hand-holding dive on the outside. Now, Hanako, Mariah May, and Mina are all on the outside. But when they go, instead of climbing to the middle of the ropes, when they do the hand-holding dive, they climb on the corners. And so Natsupoi's facing out, Tam's facing out, Saori Anou is on the turnbuckle, and she's facing into the ring. I apologize. Hanako's in the ring. So Mina and Mariah May on the outside. So, again, you have... you're going to have Tam looking on the outside, Natsupoi looking on the outside on the corners, but on the actual turnbuckle, Saori Anou looking inside of the ring. They do a 3-way hand-holding dive with Meltier doing the dive to the outside and Saori Anou hitting a picture-perfect high cross body into the middle of the ring. And I was like, oh man, you just taken the greatest move in wrestling and you just improved on it. Bravo, Cosmic Angels. Bravo.
It worries me at times just how into this hand-holding dive you are, because I think you might be more into it than Cosmic Angels.
That's not the laugh. I did put a tweet up yesterday. Again, it was my wife's birthday. I put a nice picture from my best friend's wedding. We're all dressed up nice. I put happy birthday to my beautiful bride. Thank you for supporting me and tolerating my love for the Meltier hand-holding dive and Hazuki's and Hazuki's violence. So.
To be fair, both of those things, maybe not the hand-holding dive. I feel like everyone that watches Stardom has got a love for Hazuki's violence. It adds to her character.
But all in all, about it, 4 really, really good shows. Again, I know a lot of that is kind of tough to digest. Everybody in Stardom's fantastic, but we kind of just highlighted the matches that you definitely need to go out of your way and see.
Yeah, absolutely. We've sort of fired through that simply because we've got that much to talk about. And obviously the main event is what we're going to be kicking into now, and that is the 5-Star Grand Prix 2023, the first night out of City Gym from Sunday the 23rd of July 2023 in front of a reported attendance of 1,747 people. Now, this is now up on Stardom World, so If you haven't been able to see it yet, if you couldn't afford the pay-per-view, if you didn't want to fork out for the pay-per-view, it is now on Stardom World, and you can check it out. That attendance I mentioned, that 1,747, I believe is the company's highest at Outer Ward City Gym, and it's also the second largest five-star gate in company history, behind the 2,000-odd of last year's final. Before we kick into anything, though, that opening ceremony was absolutely fantastic. The greatest introductory package the company has ever done, executed in this beautifully outstanding cinematic way. You had these, effectively what were bed sheets around the ring, and they were projecting to each side of it. Projecting to each side of it. So you had a video package of sort of going through the history of the five-star, getting in more depth, obviously, when we get to 2020 onwards. And then we had an introduction of everyone from the block, still in the dark, with these big screens around the ring, and then the screens or sheets dropped and all of the competitors were in the ring. It just looked really, really cool. It felt huge, it felt massive, and then they all went to the stage and sort of posed and looked incredibly cool. We also got our first look of Starlight Kid's new look, which we'll be talking about later. But Matt, what did you think about this entire opening ceremony? It's certainly, for me, built on the pomp and circumstance of this tournament.
I thought it was fantastic. I like last year's a little bit more because he had, like, I think everybody was dressed, like, I think Queen's Quest was dressed in like kimonos, and so was, I think, Stars, and then Oedo Tai kind of had their own, all the factions kind of had their own theme. But I like last year's just a little bit more. But this one is fantastic. And if you have not seen it, yes, it is on Stardom World. If you did not fork out the money for the pay-per-view, I completely understand. However, it was well worth the money. But now it's on Stardom World for about $8. Not only that, but these opening ceremonies, Rob, is actually available on their YouTube channel. So if you just want to just kind of take a quick look just to see what the opening ceremonies was, I think it was like 15, 16 minutes. But yeah, I thought it was really cool how they were showing all the past winners. So you had, the tribute to Yuzuki Ayakawa and their Io, Kairi, the late great Hana Kimura. Always great when she shows up on my screen. Always puts a smile on my face. But yeah, and then you see the sheets drop and everybody was in there except for Utami. And I'm not going to lie, buddy, I got a little nervous. I know, I know Scotty Wrestling, he watches these lives, and I DM'd him like, do we hear anything about Utami, like, stuck in the U.S.? Or, like, I know she was training with Natty Neidhart and spending time with Io Shirai. Is, like, is her contract up? And I'm starting to panic. And Scott was dead on the money. It was like, if Utami wasn't going to be there, they would have. Stardom's not the type of person to hide, like, an injury. If something was to happen, like, example, Kairi last year when she had COVID and she was out of the match with Saya Kamatani, they told us right away there's going to be a replacement. I was a little nervous that Utami wasn't there. And then even in her match, which we'll get to, that it seemed like her theme music, at least for me, played on forever. I'm like, oh my God, when's she coming out? But I was obviously relieved, and I understand why she wasn't there. But yeah, this was really cool. I really liked too how after they did the whole package right before the, as you call them, the bed sheets dropped. It's a big bed sheets, brother. But the projection was really cool. It was like, yeah, it was very cinematic, but they showed like the blue star and the red star, like, racing all over Earth, and was like, who is going to be the top star? Is going to be the blue star or the red star? I thought that was really cool. But yeah, it wasn't just Starlight Kid that had a new look. It was like half the roster did, and I thought everybody looked fantastic. And man, I can't wait to get into talking about the show. But yeah, they do a great job on these opening ceremonies. Even the Triangle Derby with like everybody behind like the glass fixtures, wherever, it was really, really cool. Like, Stardom has upped their production game so much over the last few years. And it really goes to show why this is, financially one of the best, in my opinion, wrestling-wise and story-wise, the best wrestling company on the planet. But kudos to whoever put that together, because that was great.
Yeah, I absolutely love the fact that they properly played into this Utami US tour angle. Really, really, because it was like there was bits of it throughout the show, whether it be her not being at the introductions, or whether it being her coming out late to face Mina, or whether it be what happens at the end of the show. I thought that was really cool how they are proper leaning into it. We did have a pre-show Gauntlet 6 woman tag team match that did air for free on YouTube that you can go and find now at their YouTube channel, with Mai Sakurai, Mai Seiya, and Tekla defeating Hanako, Saki Kashima, and Yuna Mizumori, the Stars team of Koguma, Momokogo, and Saida, and the Queen's Quest team of Hina, Lady C, and Miyu Amasaki in a shade under 10 minutes. We kicked straight into the 5-star Grand Prix itself, though, with a blue block match. Maika moving to 2 points, defeating Hanan with the Michinoku Driver 2 in 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Now, don't let that runtime fool you. Those people who are saying, oh, Hanan's being buried. No. This was an incredible amount of fun. I love the explosive start from Hanan, and to be honest, it's only really stopped because of her inexperience and Maika's, higher in-ring IQ at the moment. Basically, she tries to blitz Maika with just a whole series of moves to try and negate Maika's substantial power game. Ultimately, though, she can't keep it up, and Maika's power wins through. I did like the fact that we've got a couple more moves from Hanan. She was adopting that Okada-style corkscrew forearm, which I quite liked. And again, there was other wrestlers who incorporated different moves into their arsenal. But I did like that for Hanan. I think it works, especially with that sort of explosive, adrenaline-fueled opening we had. I thought, despite its incredibly short runtime in the grand scheme of things, it's a fantastic opening show for the young lioness.
Yeah, I thought this was great. I mean, I was just getting ready, to start taking down my notes. And next thing I know, Maika was on the ground. I was like, what happened? And then I went back and majority of these matches I went back and rewatched. As busy as I am, I just wanted to see this show again. But I saw Hannon's was like, I'm going to dropkick Maika as she does her fancy fan entrance. And then she hits a dive. And the one thing I've been noticing about Hana these past 2 or 3 months is the way she uses chain wrestling to get into holds. Nobody else in Stardom really uses chain wrestling to get in the holds. What I mean is like the British style, the European style, like the Johnny Saint, Steve Gray, chain wrestling where you do one thing into another. So Hana hits the drop kick. She hits a dive. She gets Maika in the ring. She goes for the Iron Cross Northern Lights suplex, which is basically a knuckle lock, and then you power them up for Northern Lights suplex, which Hana's been doing for quite a bit. And then Maika blocks it. Like, no, not yet. But so I figure, okay, this is where Maika's going to make her comeback. Well, Hanan gets control of Maika's wrist and then just chain wrestles around her once or twice, around the world, and then gets back to the double knuckle lock and hits the Northern Lights. And I thought that was something so small, but it was so cool. And then Maika tries to get the advantage. She goes for the Michinoku Driver. Not too long after that, Hanan's able to counter with a judo throw. She's using all this momentum, and then she basically just gets hit with a giant 360 lariat. And then Maika's like, all right, enough of this. Let's take this one home. Hits the Michinoku Driver. Yeah, for how quick this was, I thought this was great. I actually gave it all these matches shocking to absolutely nobody, Rob. I had a very high rating on. I absolutely loved this match. Great way to start the 5-star out. I had this at 3 3/4 stars.
Wow, very high indeed. And again, this match went under 4 minutes. But again, all these matches, I don't think we actually mentioned this last time. We might have done during our primer, but all these matches, of course, have 15-minute time limits. So the matches are inherently shorter. So 4 minutes. I gave it 3 1/4. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, explosive opening, and really sort of introduced those who haven't watched the 5-star Grand Prix before, really introduced them to the increased speed of these 15-minute time limit matches. We followed this with another blue block match. Mariah May moving to 2 points by defeating Azumi with the Happily Ever After in 6 minutes and 51 seconds. The Mariah May discourse has sort of made its way online. Again, I'm not entirely sure how, but I feel like the last couple of months, especially her teaming with Mina as Rose Gold, and this match on its own against Azumi, I feel like has put a lot of doubters in their place of Mariah being able to wrestle the Japanese style. I don't know whether it's because she sort of knows that she's very good looking and sort of uses that in matches, but I don't find that to be a reasonable enough reason to say that she shouldn't be on the roster when you consider that is literally Mina's entire gimmick and Tam's entire gimmick when you think about it. And also, Mariah's probably leaned into the I'm the new foreign ace thing. And when you consider where Mariah May is now, and you consider the absolute raft of Gai Kikuchian talent, outside talent that has come into Stardom. This isn't a new thing. They have been coming in since the very start of the company. And you look at them, and Mariah May is better now than a lot of them. Like, Bea wasn't as good at this point when she came into Stardom. Britt Baker, Chelsea Green, Zaya Brookside, they all came in. They progressed, obviously, because of working with really good wrestlers. But I would argue that Mariah has certainly progressed at a higher rate than a lot of the people that I've just listed, and more. And again, here I thought she had a really, really, really good match with a very, very, very good wrestler. I mean, for God's sake, you think about that powerbomb spot where she goes for it's sort of almost I can't remember what you call it. She cartwheels on the apron and sort of goes to powerbomb Azumi from the apron to the floor. And whether it's because Azumi holds onto the ropes too long or whether there was just a little bit of miscommunication, there was a moment where there could have been a very, very, very scary bump. But rather than panic, Mariah May is able to hold on to Azumi, muscle her back up, and then hit the powerbomb. I don't think she'd have been able to do that, whether it be thinking on her feet or whether it be in-ring IQ or whatever. I'm not sure she'd have been able to do that 3-4 months ago. However, the progression in her in-ring has been phenomenal, to the point where, things go wrong, and not only is she covering them, it actually made her look better. And then there was that closing sequence. That closing sequence is fantastic. The Mystica into the Happily Ever After Tombstone is one of those combinations that just works. It's like peanut butter and jelly. Okay, it's like Kawada and Misawa. It just works. It was so seamlessly done. I thought it worked tremendously. It is difficult to wrestle someone of Azumi's pacing, and I thought Mariah did an absolutely fantastic job. She has every right to claim that she's the new foreign ace in Stardom, because I personally think, you think that, Bea had that claim before she left. Top Gaijin, I believe, was her nickname. But I would argue that Mariah May is on the cusp of eclipsing Bea in ring. But that might just be me. Anyway, I gave it 3.5 stars. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Rob, you talked about peanut butter and jelly, Misawa, Kawada. Don't forget about Goodwin and Turner, my friend. Anyway, you talked about Mariah May saving the powerbomb. The most important thing she did is she protected Azumi. Again, sometimes things go awry in wrestling and whatnot, but the most important thing is when she got her up, she made sure that she protected Azumi. And yeah, again, it might have been just because of like the height differential. I don't know. Again, sometimes, and you have to understand, folks, that injury, and we're going to talk about it in the main event, injuries can happen anytime in wrestling. And the fact of what wrestlers do and what they sacrifice for our entertainment is absolutely insane. And the fact that you talked earlier about the discourse on Mariah May, nobody should be like talking any negative about any wrestler for all that they put out for our entertainment. And I know, Rob, me and you were texting last week, I think before your trip, we were just talking about like how negative like Twitter can be and social media can be. And I know me and you do a great job like deflecting all that and just, trying to put out, just to be positive in every day of our lives and put out a positive product. But Mariah May was fantastic here. I think that as much as she's been improving the past 3 or 4 months, especially in her team with Mina, I think this was her best performance. Azumi's Azumi. I mean, she's just on a completely another level. I was shocked with the finish here, but the night one of the 5 stars always going to give you a couple matches that you're not sure which way they're going to go, which just adds to it. But yeah, it was a really great finish. She goes for the La Mystica, and I was like, well, yeah, you're putting yourself in position for Mariah May's finish. How did we not see that, Rob? But of course, we both got this one wrong. Fantastic match. Again, Azumi's great. Mariah May able to keep up with Azumi's pacing on a lot of the high speed stuff. I thought just added to this match. Again, I rate a lot of matches higher than most people because I kind of understand what all goes into a match between the preparation and the gym, the tanning, if you go that way and whatnot. Yes, I like this match a little bit more than you, good sir. I actually gave this one 4 stars.
And I'm sure I'm going to get a little bit of heat for comparing Mariah May and Bea Priestley, but I don't care. So
both fantastic wrestlers, by the way.
Absolutely. At no point did I say Bea was bad. It's just that I think that at this point, Mariah May is on course to eclipse Bea, which, considering Bea had a red belt reign, I don't think Mariah May is on course for a red belt reign. But I'd certainly I certainly wouldn't be opposed to her having a shot. Certainly not. Let's move on then to the first red block match of the night, which saw Natsuko Tora defeating Amisori with the Swanton Bomb in 4 minutes and 48 seconds. That new Tora samurai-inspired entrance gear is pretty darn tasty, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, she looked like a cross of like 90s Muda with a little bit of, I don't know, maybe Kagetsu. And obviously this match, there was a little bit of Kagetsu in there. But I said that about 2 weeks ago, I think Tora is going to have an absolute fantastic 5-star. I think she's going to come out of this back into the main event scene, which is where she was before her injury. It was a main event red belt match that she got injured. And I think this just proves it. She just comes out and you're just like, all right. Like, even if the match was just like mid-level, which it wasn't, I thought these two gave a great performance. Like, just on that entrance alone in that gear, I thought she might have had the best new gear or the best entrance, really, of any wrestler. It's just like, okay, this person is an absolute badass before they even take off like the Muda Vader-esque type gear. She just looked like someone that is not to be reckoned with and somebody that is going to take this block over by storm. Yeah, she looked fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you talk about Kagetsu with the inspiration behind the Shredder gear. And then we saw even more with the Mist. So there are lots and lots of little Kagetsu inspirations throughout this. I thought, for what it was, for a sub 5 minute match, I thought it did what it needed to do. It established Natsuko Tora as a dominant force. It gave Amisori those little hope spots. I think a lariats are connecting far better, especially that somersault one. But the ref bump, I feel like, is probably going to be something of a consistent thing in Tora's matches if the lead up to this show and how we got to the missed spot on the Death Valley Bomb as well. I feel like it's probably going to be consistent in all the matches, but nevertheless, it did what it needed to do. Tora looked strong, and as we both said in our primer, Tora is one of those that we can see at least having a very, very good start to the tournament. But I gave it 3 stars. It did its job. It was good. It was solid. Probably not one you'd need to go out your way to see, though.
Yeah, again, Rob, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Has Tora ever done the Mist before, or is this something new for her?
I think she might have done, but it's certainly not been in her arsenal as of late.
I was just wondering. Now, I rated this match a little bit much higher than you, actually. I gave it 3 3/4 stars, just based on the fact that the cheating was by blinding the ref. Very much like Kagetsu. When Kagetsu would use the Mist, she was perfect how she would blind the ref. She'd pull the ref, or she would do what Tora did here, or they would have, Hazuki or whoever was on the outside, make sure the ref doesn't see it. Again, I don't mind cheating in wrestling as long as it's not done in front of the ref. This was brilliant. So she hits the Mist. She hits the Death Valley Bomb. Like, okay, that's the finish. Then Ami kicks out. And then she hits the sit-out Death Valley driver, which was Kagetsu's, basically lead up into the 450. But instead of doing the 450, she does the Swanton. So I think I rated this a little bit higher based on Ami getting that kick out, the miss, the blinding of the ref, and then the little tip of the cap to former Oedo Tai leader and former World of Stardom champion, One Kagetsu. So I thought that this was really good. And hey, Rob, we got one right.
We did get one right. I mean, I don't know.
One is only 3.
No, I got Mariah May right as well. I'll have you know.
That's right. So you got 2 out of the first 3 right, and then only got 1 out of the next 7.
Mate, I was laughing. I was laughing at this point. This prediction game's easy. I knew there'd be a time limit draw on the show, just attributed it to the wrong match. What I will say about this Swanton that Tora does, I don't know whether it's the angle of the camera, but it looks like she lands on Amisori properly high on her neck. It looked pretty gross, but even so, really good victory for Tora. We then move on to, for me, the first really, really good match. Like the first great match of what will be a run of really, really good matches. It was a red block match and saw Natsupoi move to 2 points, defeating Starlight Kid with a rolling cradle in 7 minutes and 23 seconds, beginning my slump to just 1 correct guess in 6 matches. We saw a new gear and a new haircut for Starlight Kid, and also some new subtle moves, that pop-up elbow, which I'm a big fan of. But most importantly, what did we think of the new short-haired Starlight Kid?
I thought it was pretty cool. It was something kind of adapting. You don't have the ears anymore. Maybe a tribute to because of how many times Julia has ripped those things off, and maybe figured
True.
I can't. Maybe I won't give one of those dangerous wrestlers in all of Stardom an advantage. So, different look. I like the look. I thought it was cool. And then we had another jump start. A lot of these matches had a jump start. You had Natsupoi come out. You know, she's in her new gear that she debuted at the last pay per view. You figured you'd come in, Natsupoi would come in with all the smiles. She'd do that little fancy flip thing, wearing all the gear and the baton, which I have no idea how she doesn't like slip or fall and blow out her knee. Maybe just because I have no athletics, a non-athletic bone in me. But we didn't get that. That darn Starlight Kid robbed us of the fancy no-handed flip from Natsupoi. But this thing, yeah, even before the bell, Starlight Kid jumps Natsupoi on the ramp with the dropkick, and it just doesn't stop. I mean, this thing builds and builds and builds. I liked how they tease a lot of the, if you go back and watch their high-speed championship matches, especially the one that actually happened in the middle of the 5-star 2 years ago where Starlight Kid beat Natsupoi for the high-speed championship, they do a lot of high-speed falsies. And there was one really cool spot where Natsupoi goes for the Ferial Blink, and Starlight Kid, she almost loses her, but is able to muscle back up and then tries for the Black Tiger pile driver, and then Natsupoi rolls through, and they roll through back and forth, and then Natsupoi does the La Maestra, like Terry Funk style cradle of the Oklahoma roll where she's rolling. That doesn't get her. They kind of go back and forth. Starlight Kid eventually hits the Eternal Foe. You talked about that pop-up elbow. There was a German suplex on the apron early on because why not? Starlight Kid and
Absolutely.
Natsupoi. Yeah, of course. It has to happen. You know what I mean? That's like having a Hazuki match where she throws no strikes whatsoever. What universe are we in, Rob? Not one that I want to live in. Another one of Starlight Kid's moves that I've noticed and I'm a big fan of is when she does those double running shotgun knees to the opponent's back. And I think the reason why she does it to the opponent's back because she can get a little bit more force and you're not worried about hitting, them in the throat or the jaw or anything. The back is a little bit more of a safer area. But when she throws that, man, she just comes running at you and that your opponent looks like they're ready to be shotgunned into the third row. I think it's just one of the another fantastic moves Starlight Kid has. But ultimately, it's the rolling La Maestra cradle the second time that gets the win. But yeah, as good as the first 3 matches are, it just starts getting bigger, better, and I'm not going to say better, bigger and better. Let's just settle on that from here. This was great. Another fantastic match in the series of Starlight Kid and Natsupoi, and another match that Rob and I will predicted wrong. But that's okay because the match was good enough. I actually had it at 4.25 stars.
Yeah, 4 stars from me. I liked the integration of the more main event style, if you will, that both are trying to integrate more of. It wasn't just relying on the high speed stuff that we expect from them. They are trying to sort of tell stories and things and sort of integrate, like I say, those big hard hitting moves. Obviously we had the Poi German suplex on the apron, which was brutal. Those double knees from Starlight Kid always look so impactful, and it's because I think it's because she does them so quickly the opponent never seems to have time to set themselves, so it always has just that little modicum of danger. But yeah, Starlight Kid looked like an absolute $1,000,000 during this match. Even if she did come out of it on the losing end. All in all, a really, really good sub 8-minute match you need to go out your way to go and see. And literally every match from here just takes it to another level. And speaking of which, the next match, match 5, blue block match, Utami Hayashishita does make it on time. She makes it to 2 points, in fact, defeating Mina Shirakawa with the move dubbed the Shocking Baszler in 12 minutes and 48 seconds. The move she finishes Mina with apparently was bequeathed upon her by one Shayna Baszler, Stardom alum Shayna Baszler, who of course obviously we know now in WWE Raw. I thought this match was fantastic. Excellent targeting of the neck by Mina, made even better by Utami's selling of it. Did you notice, man? It might just be me. Did you notice a difference in the way Utami was playing to the crowd? Because for me, she seemed far more open and far more, what's the word I'm looking for? Far more excited about getting the crowd reactions. We know how good Utami is. We know how much of a star she is. But for me, it just seemed like there was a little bit more crowd interaction here.
You know where they do that a lot, Rob? in America?
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, I think that obviously she knows how to play to the crowd, but she added more onto it. And I think a lot of that might have came when she was maybe hanging out over at NXT, maybe sat over there. Obviously, she was crazy over in the 4 matches. I didn't get a chance to see the Ring of Honor match that she had over here in the States. Obviously, I was lucky enough to go to the one in New York City where everyone was just deafening, just how over she was and just how lovable she was at that meet and greet, which we talked about last week's show. But yeah, that might have been something where EO kind of maybe took her aside and was like, this may be something small, a little wrinkle into your game that you're doing good, but you can do better. We always can do better at anything that we do. And you have somebody that is the leader of Queen's Quest now talking to the person that created Queen's Quest. And again, in my opinion, the greatest women's wrestler of all time, wrestling for the biggest wrestling company in the world. She might have taken her aside and said, even, with the training with Natty Neidhart, somebody who's obviously great at working the crowd, saying you're great at all these things. You're really good at working the crowd. Let's add a little bit more to it, considering the fact that the crowds are getting bigger. We mentioned before, 1,700 people here. These crowds are just on these bigger shows are just going to keep getting bigger. But I think she's going to be taking her time a little bit more and maybe focusing a little bit more on crowd psychology, which is just going to add to the game that is Utami. I'm going to ask you a question, sir. Utami, back to 2019-2020 gear. Are you a fan of that, Rob? Or did you think that because she wasn't there at the opening ceremony, she would have a completely different look? Where do you stand on Utami's throwback gear look?
I like it. I was always a big fan of the red and black of Utami. It seems, I don't think classy is the word, but for me it's quintessential Utami. Don't get me wrong, I thought the golden red look was very good. Was really, really, it stood out. But, what is Utami ultimately trying to do? She's trying to regain that championship. So what better way to start that physical transformation than reverting to the gear and the style of the woman you were when you won that title back in 2020, sorry. So I think it makes perfect sense. I think she looked fantastic here. I love the fact that Stardom are weaving her tour into the narrative of this tournament. Obviously, we had the new finisher and what happened later on. The fact she was late, in inverted commas. Overall, I think this was a fantastic match. Mina's obviously not going to get as many plaudits because she lost. But overall, a really, really, really entertaining match. And again, I thought, and obviously, again, Utami, fantastic. But Mina here, I felt showcased her improvement. Like, you look at last year's 5-star, especially the start of the 5-star. If you compare the start of the 5-star 2022 to where she is now, it's chalk and cheese. She's a completely different competitor. And it just all works so well. Everything she did, she targeted the neck of Utami. Utami's selling was brilliant, as we know it is. Overall, I thought it was fantastic. I did really enjoy as well, you talked about Utami's red and black gear. I did enjoy that periodically we'd just get random bits of hair escaping from the extensions of Utami, and occasionally they'd just float in front of the hard cam. Really enjoyed that. Really tickled me.
What are you trying to say, Rob, that from the time that I met Utami till 8 days later, she didn't grow that hair out like Kurt Angle when he got his head shaved and then came out with what was not a wig? He even said he grew it out just extra, just for kicks. You're telling me Utami didn't take some Simpsons hair tonic in 8 days and grow her hair out? Is that allegedly? Is that what you're trying to say here, buddy?
All of the allegedlys. All of the allegedlys. If you... hey, kayfabe. Kayfabe, am I right? We move on then to another blue block match.
What was your star rating, brother?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I'd give it to you. 4.25. Loved it.
I had a 4.25 as well. You basically that DDT that Utami or that Mina did to Utami to stop her early onslaught off the ramp, the tornado DDT was great. And Mina's strikes were fantastic as always. And the way that Utami sold them, and the way that Utami got out of the figure 4 driver at the last possible second, I thought, oh man, Mina's going to finish her off here with this, because it didn't look like Utami was struggling to get out. And the way that she got out the last possible second was a great way to hide the tricks of the trade of this match. But yeah, fantastic match, 4.25 stars. I agree with you, good sir.
Yeah, it's interesting actually because Mina did unload absolutely all of her arsenal at Utami. She had
Twice, sometimes twice.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only thing she didn't get away was the figure four driver Mina. So maybe that's a story we tell later on down the line. I did really love as well the transition out of the torture rat bomb into the DDT from Mina. I thought that was fantastic. Really, really good work from her. We move on then to another blue block match. Momo Watanabe moving to 2 points, defeating Mirai, the Wonder of Stardom champion, with the Peach Thunder in 9 minutes and 36 seconds. This, for lack of a better phrase, was just a beefy brawl, and I am all here for it, Matt.
Yeah, this is exactly what you expected would be. This is Momo Watanabe, like Queen's Quest Momo Watanabe, sprinkled in with some of the heel stuff of Oedo Tai. It's how she got the early advantage. And we got some kicks and forearms back and forth. We got some fantastic lariats. The way that Momo uses the Samato, also known as the Meteor, and how she counters big moves into it, it just blows my mind. Just how athletic she is. And I think she's underrated as being one of the more athletic wrestlers in Stardom. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Momo Watanabe. I love her Wonder of Stardom championship run that she had back in started in 2018. Did not see this one going this way. I thought that with Mirai just, coming off the back-to-back Cinderella wins, coming off that match of the year candidate, beating Tam Nakano, for the Wonder of Stardom championship. Not only beating Tam Nakano for the Wonder belt, but Tam, the red belt champion as well. I didn't see Mirai dropping a fall until maybe about match 4 or 5 in the 5-star, but the fact that she drops a fall, I'm pretty clean to Momo Watanabe here. I mean, there was some shenanigans here or there, but nothing where, there was like a ref pulled and 84 people coming in or this, that. It's a pretty clean win that Momo got here. And then Momo said in backstage comments, like, "You're the white belt champion. I just beat you for it." So they're teasing somewhere down the line Momo challenging Mirai for the Wonder of Stardom championship. So if this was the goal of this match, was 1, to have a fantastic match, they did that. And 2, to run this back with the white belt on the line. Stardom, you know what you need to do, what you've been doing for 2 years. Take my money. Here it is. Take my money.
Absolutely. To be fair, this was the perfect length for this. Just explosive, filled with brutal kicks. There was one moment where Mirai attempted to get Momo up for, I think, the Miramare Shock, and Momo just dropped on her with a Samato. It was great. Yeah. And you say, the interference. We had one sort of wild bat shot from Momo, but that was it, really. It was relatively clean. And obviously, I spoke about this before and how the tournament sort of gives carte blanche to results like this. We had 2 years in a row where Azumi beat Syuri, for example, and it does sort of give the chance to get these title challenges, and that's why I do think that Azumi is going to beat Mirai. But yes, I was completely with you. I was convinced Mirai was going to win this, but another Momo title match. I don't even think you need to give this much longer than they gave it here. Like, what did it go? Sub 10 minutes. Give this 13, 14, 15 minutes at the top of a pay-per-view, I'd be more than happy. And just let them do what they did in this match. Some heavy-ass lariats from Mirai and some big, stiff kicks from Momo. That's all we want. What did you give it, my friend?
I had it 4.25 stars. I love the finish with the Momo Punk kick, Peach Sunrise kicking out at 2, and then just dropping her with the Peach Thunder. So, the same star rating as I gave Utami and Mina, but I like Utami and Mina that much more. So again, 4.25 stars. How about you, partner?
Yeah, I gave it 4. We need to talk about that Punk kick. That Punk kick looked absolutely devastating. Not since the one she broke in kayfabe Azumi's jaw with, when she had the spanner inside her boot as she delivered a more devastating punt. So, that was a really, really brutal ending, and I absolutely loved it. Speaking of matches I absolutely loved,
oh, man.
we have got a 1, 2, 3 punch here of 3 absolutely superb matches, and we start with red block action. Syuri moving to 2 points, defeating Suzu Suzuki with the Vermilion World in 11 minutes and 2 seconds. This was frantic stuff, and it was everything I wanted it to be. If you'd have asked me at the start of the match, what do you want to see between these two? I want to see them kick the ever-loving Jimmy out of each other. That's all I want. I don't even want a story. I just want them to hit each other with everything as hard as they possibly can. And they gave us that and more. Just that opening shot with Suzu tempting Syuri into the handshake, then in the tequila shot and the German suplex. It was brilliant. And then the more we got into the match, the more they'd be throwing at each other. And I mentioned her before, but I'll mention it again now. Suzu Suzuki is a star in the making. I mean, not even in the making, a star in waiting, should I say. She is there. She's just waiting for that tap on the shoulder. And I don't think, if she were to win the red belt now, I can't think of a single person who watches Joshi wrestling that would go, that's a ridiculous booking decision. She is so damn good, and she's so damn versatile as well. To go from death matches to having brutal, for lack of a better phrase, slobber knockers against the likes of Syuri, a refreshed Syuri as well, let's not forget, because she wasn't on the last tour. I think just this match itself was just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Go out of your way to see it, because just when you don't think they're going to up the match, Suzu Suzuki launches Syuri onto the floor with the German suplex from the apron, which looked brutal. They start just trading suplexes. You've got Syuri flipping out of bloody suplexes into victory rolls. It's everything about it works beautifully. Some of those kickouts towards the end, absolutely magnificently timed. Overall, one of my matches of the night, and only because I can't really separate these last three matches, 4.5 stars. Brilliant. Go out of your way to watch this, because I guarantee you that Suzu Suzuki is Wonder or World of Stardom champion, or is at the very least, had a shot at one of those belts. Another shot, because I know she's already had a match with Julia, by next year's 5-star. Guaranteed. She is a star. She is going to be leading this company sooner rather than later.
You talked about, you hit everything on the head, partner, but you're like, I don't even care if they give me a story, which they did. The story was Suzu just so desperate to win this tournament, not only win this tournament, to beat Syuri, who won this tournament 2 years ago and dominated Stardom, with that year-long run. It's literally to the point where she upholds the code of honor. I'm always a fan of that. But then she brings her in with the tequila shot and the suplex, and the German suplex. And I'm not going to lie, Rob, I've been on that. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is where they're going. She kicks out, and then Suzu just takes her right. Like, let's get this match more violent. Suzu takes her to the floor, suplexes her on the ramp. Eventually, Syuri gets the advantage back. She throws her in the ring and was like, yeah, you want to get violent? I get violent too. And then she just starts kicking the crap out of Suzu.
Oh my God!
I'm like, we're 4 minutes in this match. We saw a tequila shot, a German suplex that a lot of people, including me, bid on the finish, and then Suzu starts beating the crap out of Syuri on the outside. It gets on the inside, and then Syuri, within 2 kicks, takes the advantage back. I'm like, but this is what it needed to be. And then Suzu rapid fires, throwing those buzzsaw kicks back and forth. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but I believe we released our Patreon exclusive top 5 Stardom matches with me, you, and Scott on the morning of the show, correct?
Mm-hmm. We did indeed.
Well, I was on Twitter, and me and Scott were watching this show live, and we were messaging each other back and forth. And we were, he retweeted our tweet, and I was trying to, get the stuff out as many people as possible. But as soon as this match was over, Scott goes, I told you that we have to redo our top 5 5-star matches, because this might make it for me. Yeah, this was absolutely incredible. And then Suzu, she hits the German suplex onto the floor, off the apron onto the floor to Syuri, which she did on Saya last year, which looked great, but there was a lot more people to catch Saya. I don't know if they were just out of place or they weren't ready for it or what, because they caught Syuri, but not as well as they should have. Thank God she was okay. And then she goes for Suzu goes for the 2 back-to-back German suplexes, because she hit the 1, but didn't hit the trifecta, the locomotion, which pretty much got her all of her wins in last year's 5-star. Syuri, knowing that she's in danger, basically does the Oklahoma, rolls through, does the prong hold quesadora, roll through, and then goes to the arm, and tries to attack Suzu's arm, and the two of them start trading kicks back and forth. And then eventually Suzu gets the tequila shot. Suzu, or when Shuri gets out of the two German suplexes, she hits the buzzsaw kick, she hits the running knee, and at this point, Shuri's just had it. She picks Suzu up and just launches her into the turnbuckle. And we've seen Shuri do this very many times, especially in the her World of Stardom Championship run. Was it just me, Rob, or was this one like extra violent? Like it was like, you know what? If you're gonna do all this to me, I have to bring it back to you. And then she just slaps her a couple times, picks her up for a Million World 3 count. This match doesn't take a breather. It's nonstop. It builds. The psychology is there. The violence is there. Now, I've not seen all of Suzu Suzuki's death matches, and I appreciate the death match style, but that's, kind of not my bag. This, in my opinion, for all the Suzu matches I've seen, and I'm a huge fan of Suzu Suzuki, especially here in Stardom, this is the best Suzu Suzuki match I've ever seen. And outside of the final of the 2021 5-star, this is the best 5-star Shuri match I've ever seen. This was the easiest 5-star match I can give. This gets all the stars. This was absolutely fantastic. And good luck to everybody else that is going to try to top this, even though a lot of people I talked to said that they liked Hazuki and Mayu better, and they liked Sori Anhu and Julia better. And a few people messaged me just the other day saying, I rewatched the whole show. Utami and Mina was my favorite match from the show. So it's so awesome that this show was so good, Rob, that people have more than one favorite match from the show. I absolutely love that. And that just goes to show that just the depth of the roster and matches and match quality that not only this show has, but Stardom. But yeah, I mean, I went back and watched this match yesterday. I'm probably going to watch it again either tonight or tomorrow. Well, tomorrow I won't have time. I'll be on the road. But I'm definitely going to go back and watch this again soon. This was fantastic.
It's funny you should say everyone having different favorite matches. I think something that every single person has been sort of agreed upon, if you like, is that this show was better than any of the G1 nights so far. And it's because of the consistency of those matches. Shiori and Suzu Suzuki, phenomenal match. Mayu Iwatani versus Suzuki, excellent match. Julia and Shiori Inu, violent, brilliant. Utami Hayashishita and Mina Shirakawa, fantastic match. Momo Watanabe and Mirai, brutal, loved it, just hard hitting. I think it's got something there for everyone. And whereas with the G1 Climax at the moment, especially in the current format, you get maybe one good match, two at a push. This had, at least 5 matches that could literally be called match of the night because they were that damn good. And that, pays testament to how good these wrestlers are in the ring and the booking as well, because as a card, this card has got to be up there at the end of your awards as one of the best shows. I just wonder if this main event is going to stop it from winning. We move on then to the red block again. The red block again. Mayu Iwatani defeating her Stars stablemate Hazuki in 13 minutes and 2 seconds with the 2-step dragon. Couple of notes from this. First of all, Hazuki, unsurprisingly, bought the violence, bought the hard-hitting, which we love. But also, she properly drew it out of Mayu. This is the hardest hitting I've seen Mayu do in ages. This is the most serious, apart from when she misses a slap and has to do it again, because she just misses it entirely, which I thought was great. This is the most serious and down to earth I've seen Mayu in a while as well. And I think that's because, Hazuki drags it out of her. It was always going to be unenviable following Shiori versus Suzu Suzuki, but I felt like these two were the two to do it. I loved everything about this match. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Hazuki's hard-hitting, Mayu Iwatani's athleticism and selling. To the point where I even enjoyed Hazuki's suicide dives, which always terrify me because I never feel like she gets enough distance in them. It goes to show just how much I enjoyed this match. Overall, I thought both these women left absolutely everything in the ring. And my only real surprise, really, was that given the little interaction we had where Mayu and Hazuki sort of teased that Hazuki's going after the IWGP Women's Championship, is that Hazuki didn't get the win here. But nevertheless, Kirsty's favourite to win the tournament, Mayu Iwatani, comes out with the victory. Another outstanding match. 4.5 stars again. Thoroughly enjoyed it, Matt.
Rob, this match starts off with Hazuki going back to her high speed roots, and I'm gonna. There's a reason why I'm talking about how fast these matches are starting when we get to the next match in a moment. She like rolls Mayu up twice in like the first like 15 seconds, trying to get that quick fall. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're going here. And I'm trying to answer tweets and I'm trying to write down my notes. And I'm like, okay, put the phone away. Got to take these notes. Again, you mentioned everything about how great the match was. It built the psychology. Mayu's a hard hitter. There are certain matches that she's even got to be more hard hitting. And she was really here. Her match with Mercedes Moné towards the end, she got really hard hitting, especially when she goes for the moonsault and Mercedes grabs her leg and Mayu just boots the crap out of her face. And it seemed like every strike was on like that level, and as well it needed to be because it was Hazuki. There was one point in the match that I was like scratching my head at, and I was actually like kind of like maybe not upset, but I was like, what do you do? This makes no sense. This makes no sense. And then they completely course corrected. I'm like, what? I know nothing as a wrestler. I know nothing. That spot was Mayu misses the moonsault. Hazuki rolls to the outside to create separation. I'm like, okay, I understand that. You know, this is Mayu's one of her big moves. I got to get out of the way. Not only to get out of the way, I'm going to take this to the floor and I'm going to get a breather. And then Hazuki's out there so long, not like crazy long, but she's out there so long. Mayu eventually shakes it off. And then she goes for a suicide dive. And as she's running, I'm like, this makes no sense. You just missed the top rope move. Why would you go for a second? And then I realized Hazuki baits her in. And as it's not like Hazuki moves, Hazuki darts into the ring, goes under the rope as Mayu, I guess it's par for the course. Mayu has to miss a suicide dive in the 5-star.
Mm-hmm.
She did that horrendous, that crazy one with Mirai last year. So I was like, oh, I get it. She baited her in for the suicide dive, knowing that she's going to eat it. So she eats it twice in a row. And then Hazuki, we've never seen Hazuki do this. She hits 2 suicide dives right in a row. So I was like, for 10 seconds, and I was like questioning the psychology of Mayu and Hazuki. I'm like, I know nothing about wrestling. I really do. I'm just going to let these girls do it. And I thought that was so brilliant. And that's the brilliance with psychology, because you think it's going to go one way, and then you're questioning something, and they give you something completely opposite, completely better than you would imagine. I thought the psychology of that spot of Hazuki outsmarting Mayu, the leader of stars, it's like, I know you all so well. I've been in your group for over a year. We wrestled each other at the 5-star, I think like 5 times already. I know what you're going to do, and I'm going to bait you into this. I thought that was great. And then it starts leading to Hazuki, starting needing the code breakers and the face washes and trying to go for the brain buster. But absolutely, eventually, there was a really cool spot where Mayu's building up to this two-step dragon, and Hazuki's able to get out and gets the Hazuki Strafe like 2.9. And I thought that was going to be the finish, because I think me and you both had Hazuki. I know me and you both had Hazuki winning this match because, 1, we were wrong on 70% of our predictions, and 2, we thought it was going to lead to a Hazuki Mayu IWGP match. So I thought that was going to be the finish. I bid hard. Eventually, Mayu comes back, stiff super kick, hits the 2-step dragon, and gets the pinfall. Yeah, this was absolutely brilliant. And it's like, don't take a breath. 4 3/4 stars. This was damn near perfect, Rob.
Couldn't agree more, my friend. 4.5 stars. Absolutely fantastic. Loved every minute of it. And again, I rather stupidly thought, you talk about not knowing anything, Matt. I stupidly thought, how on earth are you going to top this? Well, it turns out we're going to top it with one of the most violent time limit draws you've seen in 5-star history, between Julia and Saori Anou, going the full 15 minutes and literally just bludgeoning each other until they are both bleeding. You've got this horrible spot. We talked a little bit about Julia and Saori, the match we're going to cover in our alternate commentary, and they literally lift that spot here, but it just seems so much worse. Saori Anou literally just a fisherman suplex, I think, just literally launches Julia into the crowd from off of the ramp, and just the impact is brutal. Absolutely brutal. We get the traditional table spot. We get just 2 women just out for blood, quite literally, in this match. And the 15 minutes properly flies by as well, because these 2 women are literally just no respect for their own safety of any kind. And it's an extremely fun watch. And I would be amazed if it's not one of the matches of the tournament. It was blisteringly good fun, Matt.
Yeah, I mentioned before about these quick starts. Obviously, Hana with Micah, Starlight Kid jumping Natsupoi. You had the tequila shot to start out the Suzu Shuri match. You had Hazuki going for the quick rolls here. So again, I'm trying to take my notes. I'm trying to stay up to date on Twitter. And this match, they start with a lockup, and Julia takes a side headlock. I'm like, okay. Rob Goodwin, I can breathe. I'm taking notes. I'm getting a sip of water. My cats are running around. I'm trying to answer stuff on Twitter. Next thing I know, they're on the outside. I'm like, oh well, there goes that. I thought I was gonna have a breather. So, and again, if you watch I know there's some of our listeners and there's some Stardom fans that sometimes it can be tough to keep, and not just Stardom. Sometimes like WWE, AEW. Sometimes it's tough to watch everything. But if you do, and the promotion has really good booking and the talent is really smart and everything's booked properly, all these little things you see on the big shows, they add up to so much more. And Julian Soria knew for the last, I don't know, month and a half, 2 months are really building up like how violent they're going to get. And boy, they howdy. Really, outside of that side headlock from Julia, that was the only like non-violent thing, because then they take her to the ramp and then Julia is going for the backdrop driver on the chairs. I know she's not going to hit it because that's a crazy bump, but they made sure they had all the seconds, get the fans out of the way. I'm like, clearly they're doing something, but there's no way Sawyer New is taking this backdrop driver. Then again, I really, what happens about 3 minutes later, I really shouldn't question how insane she is. And then Sawyer New hits the, what I call the perfect plex off the ramp into the 6th or 7th row. I went back and watched this match last night, Rob, and I don't know how they did this, but those chairs, they're not folding chairs. They're just regular chairs. Suzu and Soryu New. Now, granted, that's 90% Soryu New controlling Julia's body. They hit as flat as they possibly can on those chairs. Now, any part of those chairs, it sucks. I'm not going to lie, folks. There's no way to 100% protect yourself. But if you hit the lip of the chairs, it's a lot harder. So I have no idea how Soryu New was able to control not only her body, but Julia's body coming in full motion off a rampway and able to hit both their bodies as flat as possible to once again to try to protect each other as much as they can on that violent spot. And then they just decide to just go full Oedo Tai and Cork and Hall, or full ECW arena style, and just take out every chair like possible. It's like, you know what? You guys are paying all this money for these first 4 or 5 rows. It's going to be take home Julia or Soria New with you tonight, because they just take out literally everything. And then that's not good enough, Rob. We have to have Julia pile drive Suzu Suzuki through a table as she's bleeding from the top of her head. Holy jeez. And I'm like, now I didn't think this would go to a time limit draw. You were the only one of the 4 of us that had a time limit draw. You thought it was going to be Shuri versus Suzu. So I was like, okay, they've done enough. They're going to go back in the ring. They're going to do a couple false finishes, and then they're going to take this one home. But they build and build. And God bless Sorian New. They could have taken it home, or they could have went to double. Since it was going to go to a draw, they could have done a double disqualification or a double countout or a double knockout. But Sorian New stays the course. Not only that, but making the blood. She gets it, almost goes into like zombie mode. When it's something that I've never seen. I've only seen a handful of matches outside of Stardom. But she goes into a completely different mode, and Julia even takes some of the blood. I think she takes it off Sori New's head and licks it or something like that. She did something crazy. I'm like, as if she's not violent enough. Oh, by the way, Julia's look too was fantastic. I thought her gear was great. I believe it was based off some anime character. I have to tap Lily, my daughter, on that one because she's the anime genius. But I thought she looked great with that gear. Anywho, back to the match. So then, Julia's getting the advantage. She goes to go off the top rope. Sori New cuts her off with the top rope, her Karana. And we're building. She hits the what I call the backslide from heaven. Julia kicks out at 1. Julia hits the backdrop driver, and then the Shining Black. Sori New kicks out at 1. They just go back and forth, and to a point where I completely forgot about the time limit. Julia hits the Glorious Driver, and then the bell rings, and I was like, oh, I was so enthralled in this violent story that they were telling that I completely forgot that we were coming along on the time limit. This was great. The risks were fantastic. Again, if you just see this match with no context, you'll love it. But knowing the build-up they did, which is the genius of Stardom, it's why it makes them the best wrestling company in the world, bar none. It adds on to this match so much more. They took the risk, but they were safe doing it. They was able to protect each other while kicking each other's ass, which is just the art and the illusion of wrestling. And these two just did it tenfold. And had a great story after all that violence of them just trying to one-up each other. And then to a point where it was like, we can't beat each other by throwing each other through every chair in this building or pile driving each other through tables. So Sorry New's like, I'm going to try to beat you with a 3 count with the backslide from heaven. I couldn't do it. Julia tries to win with the Goddess Gate clutch, but then gets reversed. Sorry New basically shifts her weight up. So it's like, now we're trying to get flash finishes. Because at this point, Rob, we're just trying to beat the clock and get a 3 count and try to leave with all of our limbs attached. Brilliant story. Fantastic match. Again, another, for me, 5-star match. I had this at 5 stars.
Wow. Okay. I gave it 4.5. I mean, to be fair, I don't think there's anything that I can add that you haven't already said. Just a brilliant match. Like, this show was so good. And it's just a shame what happened in the main event, which we're obviously going to talk about now, and that was the red block match. Tam Nakano moving to 2 points, defeating Saya Kamatani via referee stoppage in 8 minutes and 15 seconds. Out of respect for Saya, obviously I'm not going to rate this match, but basically what starts out as an extremely quick paced match. These two have got a lot of history, of course, dating back to last year, 2 years ago now, July, in Yokohama, where Saya Kamatani won the Cinderella and then failed in capturing the white belt. Here they start extremely quickly. Saya then goes to climb the lighting rig, which is impressive. It's also exceptionally high. She goes for a big crossbody. Unfortunately, as she lands, she dislocates her shoulder. Dislocates her elbow, I apologize, and has messed up all of the ligaments as well. So the referee calls for the bell, awards the match to Tam, and Saya is stretchered out. Incredibly difficult spot. No one is to blame for the injury. Unfortunately, things like this happen in wrestling. What makes this even more crushing, aside from the fact that Saya Kamatani has now had to pull out of the 5-star Grand Prix, and the fact that she's not going to be part of the Tag Team Dream Festival in a couple of months' time, is that according to the Wrestling Observer today, Saya Kamatani was supposed to win the entire tournament. She was scheduled to win the entire tournament and build to a match with whoever was the champion at the end of the year. We haven't got a time limit, or a time frame, should I say, on the injury to Saya, but the fact, this just makes it all the more difficult to swallow. The fact that she was getting this huge push towards the red belt, and a freak injury, when you attempt, they're called high-risk maneuvers for a reason. Dave Meltzer has gone on to say the whole tournament and wins and losses were laid out in advance to build a dramatic tournament finale with her winning, and with this, everything has to be redone. So, a couple of things to come from this. First things first, obviously, we wish Saya a speedy recovery. Hopefully she doesn't rush back before she's ready. And hopefully when she does come back, she is going to be kicking ass and taking names. Secondly, it's no one's fault. The injury is no one's fault. These things happen in wrestling, as I said, called high risk for a reason. And thirdly, the fact that she should have won the tournament, crushing. Fourth, it means that we could potentially have another winner. Well, we're going to have another winner. And credit to Scotty Wrestling, who on Twitter actually managed to unearth a quote from Dave back in October of 2021 that says that Julia was supposed to win the 2021 5-star Grand Prix, but her injury led to a rejig, which ultimately led to Syuri winning, and obviously the run that we know there. So even though Saya is injured, and obviously Julia did win the next year, did go on to win the red belt, and did go on to have a couple of great matches before shockingly dropping it to Tam, this could happen for Saya. Yes, she might not win here, but we could do something really good for someone else in the tournament. Maybe a Hazuki. And then, when Saya comes back next year, wins the 2024 5-star Grand Prix, and is able to close that own story. I just wish that it wasn't because of this injury, but straight away you could tell something wasn't right, Matt.
Yeah, it's scary. I remember as they were doing the graphic for this match, I sent Scott a wrestling. I said, it's Scott E Wrestling. I sent him a message again. We were messaging each other back and forth, which has made the show even so much better for me talking to, our good buddy and someone who is as passionate as Stardom as you and I are, Rob. And I said, how in the world? I said, this is totally unfair. Like, this show is so good. And then we go from these last three matches, and these two have to try to top it. And he's, well, look at their last two matches, especially for the Wonder Belt. Obviously, this only has a 15-minute time limit. Those two matches, I think I gave top of my head, I think I had 4 3/4 stars. So I'm like, even if this goes 4 1/4, 4.5, this is going to go down as one of the best wrestling shows ever. And let's give credit where credit's due, Rob. They started out hot. They had a really good sequence in the beginning. They took it to the floor. Tam goes into Tam New Jack mode, where she has to jump off something. And again, this very easily could have been Tam, because she did a dive just as high. She did it off the entranceway. So she does the dive. Of course, everybody's there, to catch her. Saya, and I'm like, Saya's going to do something crazy. She starts climbing up the lighting fixture. And I'm like, this is how they're going to try to outdo. Again, depending on what you like, this is how they're going to go. She's going to do a big dive. They're going to go in the ring. And, the way Tam builds her big matches and the way Saya builds her big matches towards the finish, there's not really two better wrestlers in all of wrestling that build it, especially, Tam being the red belt champion and Saya, the way she'd build her finishes in the white belt. And I'm like, this is going to be as close to a 5-star. This is going to be one of the greatest nights of wrestling ever. As Saya, and I have that thought in my head. So Saya climbs up the ramp, up the lighting fixture, and a whole bunch of people are there to catch her. And sometimes I'll be watching wrestling, whether it's Stardom or somebody else, and my wife will be watching with me. She's like, there's so many people there to catch them. It's kind of phony, right? And I was like, I kind of see your point of view, but at the same time, I'd rather have 5 people catch me than one person catch me. I would rather blur the lines a little bit more of kayfabe and have wrestlers safe. Now, I'm not comparing myself to Saya Kamatani any stretch of the imagination. My biggest injury in wrestling, Rob, came from a dive that I have done a zillion times. It happened last year. As a dive I do from the top rope to the outside. And I did it. There was only one person to catch me. I came down and jammed my foot. If there was 4 or 5 people there to catch me, would it have been a safer landing for me? Probably. There was about 4 or 5 people there to catch Saya. And I did not go back and watch it. I do not like watching matches where wrestlers get injured. Now, unless I absolutely have to watch it for this podcast, I will never go back and watch this match again. Do not like watching matches, especially where if somebody, now Brian Danielson and Okada from Forbidden Door, Dragon gets injured, but continues the match, is able to continue the match. That's a match I can go back and watch. But a match that gets stopped because of injury, I do not like watching. So again, I will never go back and watch this match again. But from my vantage point, watching this live and the fact that I don't speak the language Japanese, so I'm frantically panicking. Especially when they call for the bell. Because at first I'm like, well, maybe they're just doing an injury thing and then Saya's going to kind of make a comeback. But from where I was watching this live, Rob, it looked like when Saya hit and everybody cleared, Tam was holding her around the head. It looked like Saya was like spiked on a DDT. And you can see Tam is trying to talk to her. And you can see, I believe Daichi was the ref. He was telling the seconds, which are mostly from Queen's Quest, to go get water. So the first thing I'm thinking of, she's either has a concussion or it's her neck, by the way she's being held and the fact that they're getting her water. The bell rings and my heart just sank. I'm like, oh no, this is not good. And I'm thinking it's her neck. Eventually she rolls over, holding her arm, and there's no such thing as a good injury, but the fact that it's her arm and not her neck, and we know that it's a dislocated elbow with ligament damage. So we're not sure where the ligament damage is. It may take her a week or 2 to find out. But sometimes with a dislocated elbow, it's like 6 to 8 weeks. With a broken neck, it could end your career. So I'm like, okay, it's kind of the lesser of 2 evils. And the fact that I had Saya winning the block. And even if, in my mind, I'm thinking, even if Saya doesn't win that block, we get all these rematches for the Wonder Belt. We get the Natsupoi match. We get the Starlight Kid match. We get the Hazuki match. Again, we talked about, my opinion, the greatest Wonder match of all time, and we get that match with Shuri that I was looking forward to. So even if she didn't win this tournament, she would come across at the end of this as a huge main event, and I think she's there anyway. What she did with that Wonder Belt, it's unbelievable. But the fact that, about an hour before we're recording, partner, that Meltzer reported, and again, it's not 100% confirmed. I mean, but Dave Meltzer, again, he's been doing the Wrestling Observer longer than I've been breathing, so he knows what he's talking about. they had Saya winning this whole tournament. And that just guts me even more. Because again, I don't like seeing any wrestler get injured. And you know how much I love Queen's Quest and how much I love Saya Kamatani. I mean, this just absolutely broke my heart in the main event of what was an absolute must-see show. Again, the most important thing is her health. But you're absolutely right, partner. Julia, from what we speculated, but from what you're telling me that Julia was supposed to win the 2021 tournament, we got that caught that lightning in a bottle with Sherry winning it, and then it just gave Julia more of an arc. Now, I'm going to say this. You can compare, you can say whatever you want. You know, wrestling is subjective. It's why we love it. They can pretty much almost copy and paste what they did with Julia and do this with Saya. However, I don't think anybody's going to disagree with me. If you're going to compare Julia and Saya Kamatani, when you talk about a sympathetic, pure babyface, Saya Kamatani is one of the best in Stardom. So when Saya comes back from this injury, if they start building towards that in late spring, early summer, and they start building towards the sympathetic babyface that she is, and then wins this tournament, and then maybe beats Utami in the main event of next year's Dream Queendom, I think me being a positive person, that's the best way to come out of this. Is if they basically, hey, we can pivot. We have a loaded roster. Maybe it's a Hazuki, maybe it's a Sherry, maybe it's a Mayu, maybe we go back to back with Julia, maybe we go the Utami route that everybody was kind of thinking. Maybe we do the Mina, maybe we run back Mina and Tam with a little more heat to it. There's a zillion different ways they can go about it. That it's still going to be great because Stardom is great and the booking's fantastic. And I know they have to reshuffle things around. And I have 100% confidence in the booking of Stardom, especially what they did last year with half the block was eligible to win going into the final night. I know, and the fact that maybe it is a blessing, Rob. This is the first year in a long time we didn't have back-to-back nights. So now the booking committee, Rasi Ogawa, has a few days to kind of reshuffle things to see what he wants to do. And I have no doubt they're going to make it for a great tournament. It's just heartbreaking, regardless of what wrestler it is, especially someone that is so universally loved like Saya Kamatani to get injured. But it was such a sigh of relief when I saw that she was moving and that they put ice on her elbow. And I'm like, thank God it's just her elbow. Because it may have only been 30, 40 seconds, Rob, but I'm in my living room at like 6:30 in the morning and I thought it was her neck. And thank God it wasn't.
Yeah, absolutely. It is quite literally a case of thank heaven for small mercies. Hopefully, I know that, like I said, the Dream Festival, Tag Festival, and the rest of the 5-star are currently the dates that Saya Kamatani's missing. Hopefully, we'll see her at Dream Queendom at the end of the year, assuming that we do still get a Dream Queendom. Credit to Stardom, though, they still rang the post-match angle, which, hopefully trying to get them to forget the sadness of what they'd just seen. Of all people, someone that I have absolutely no idea about, I'm afraid, Megan Bain, so also known as the Megasus, great name, came to the ring and basically ran through Tam, accompanied to ringside by Utami Hayashishita. Utami basically said that she'd met Megan in the US, didn't know a great deal about her, but knew that she wanted to challenge in Japan, so brought her over. Again, love how Stardom are properly leaning into this Utami tour. And basically, Megan is going to challenge Tam for the red belt, and I want the IWGP belt, which brings Mayu Iwatani out, and we get two matches. Matches that were made official at the press conference for Stardom X Stardom on the 13th of August. Tam Nakano, the champion, versus Megan Bain. And for the IWGP Heavyweight Women's Championship, Mayu Iwatani versus Utami Hayashishita. Now, I don't know about you, Matt. Obviously, you've worked a lot of the US Indies. I know very, very little, almost nothing about Megan Bain. Do you know anything? Have you heard anything? What do you think about this angle of a brand new outsider coming in and challenging Tam for the red belt? What are your feelings towards this?
I know nothing about Megan Bain. However, I was again, people on Twitter, because I lean towards the positive, very, very helpful. A lot of our listeners, very, very helpful, gave me a bunch of matches to watch. I guess she was a big deal over and Beyond Wrestling, No, my buddy Jerry actually owns Beyond Wrestling, so I might have to tap him to kind of see, maybe get some insider information, Rob. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I can do that. But from what I understand, she's fantastic. They said that she's going to fit into this Stardom roster really, really well. And I wonder if she's going to be, I don't know if this is going to be like a 3 or 4 month stint for her, or if this is going to be something more permanent where maybe she is a member of Queen's Quest, because that was kind of Queen's Quest thing back in the day, is they would have a lot of Gaijin wrestlers in their stable, B Priestley, a Viper, those. So maybe she's somebody that they're basically bringing into Queen's Quest, since it was kind of Utami that accompanied her. But Utami was completely different. I was like worried, like, is Utami turning heel? Is she leaving Queen's Quest, which would be terrible with Saya's injury? But the fact that Utami was wearing a Queen's Quest shirt, Megan Bain jumps Tam, where Utami is very like, hey, Mayu, come here. I want to challenge you for your belt. And they shook hands. So I was like, okay, maybe they're staying the course with Mayu in Queen's Quest. But I don't know anything about Megan Bain. Just from the eyeball tests, very, very impressive. And again, nothing from what I understand from what people were telling me, nothing but super impressive stuff from her. So I'm sure if you go on YouTube, you can see a couple of her matches. So, and I don't think that Stardom would run a main event red belt match at a pay-per-view with somebody that was incapable of going toe-to-toe with Tam Nakano. So hopefully by the time we record next week, I will be able to watch some Megan Bain matches and have more of an opinion on her.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I will say is that Mariah May's tweet about Megan Bain had me giggling for a while. And again, it's thanks to Sky Wrestling that I actually saw this. So obviously, post all of this happening, we had a press conference to set the cards for Midsummer Fest in 2023, New Blood 10, and for Stardom X Stardom. Now, everyone was in their finery. They're just their normal clothes, apart from Megan Bain, who came in her very, very, very themed gear, including huge headdress. And if you've seen the photo that they take with her in the middle and everyone else is a good 2 heads shorter than her, Mariah May tweeted out saying, Megan, darling, did you forget clothes? I mean, you can borrow something if you want, which makes me laugh, the fact that just the idea
she's the best. Mariah May's the best on Twitter.
Just love the idea of Megan Bain having to go around in just that outfit, like going to do a big shop in that outfit and stuff. But like I say, we did have an utterly chaotic press conference that we had Nanai Takahashi and Sayarida taking on each other in a shoulder tackle contest just while they're both shouting passion. We had the utterly bizarre segment between Rose Gold and Natsupoi and Saori Anou, where Rose Gold came to the press conference tied together to show their unity, and then Mariah May started saying all of the things that they do together before Mina stopped her. So that then ended up turning into a tug of war that was refereed by Waka Tsukiyama, which was brilliant, needless to say. Megan Bain then carried on the rich tradition of people bloodying up Tam at a press conference. And on top of all of this, we got the information that Stardom are going to be honouring a whole host of Joshi legends at Midsummer Fest. In terms of Stardom press conferences, I'd argue this one was perhaps the most breathless. But to me, the best moment of this press conference was Saki Kashima falling asleep.
I didn't see that.
Saki Kashima fell asleep backstage and was found by the person challenging her for the high-speed title, Koguma. So Koguma drew all over her face. Saki Kashima did not realise that Koguma had drawn all over her face, so went to the press conference with ink all over her face, with Rossi Ogawa not able to contain his laughter, just as he wasn't able to contain his laughter when Waka Tsukiyama was refereeing that bloody tug-of-war match. Honestly, if you haven't already seen it, you need to watch it. It is absolutely hilarious. And then as they're posing for the photo, Saori Anou and Natsupoi are still wrapped up in their end of the rope, and Natsupoi's like sort of falling all over Saori Anou just to wind her up, and Saori Anou is just deadpanning it, just absolutely not having any of it. Just a brilliant press conference. But all in all, we have the following cards to come out of it. So first things first, our next big show is going to be Stardom X Stardom. And on that card, we have the following. We've got a tag team gauntlet. We've got one 5-star Grand Prix match, which is going to be Red Block, Starlight Kid versus Natsuko Tora. We've then got the High Speed Championship, Saki Kashima versus Koguma. We've got the Goddess of Stardom Championship match, Rose Gold versus Sayori Poi. We've then got the New Japan Strong Women's Championship with Julia taking on Matt's favourite wrestler, Yu. And then we have got these two at the top of the card, Mayu Iwatani versus Utami Hayashishita for the IWGP Women's Championship. And then we've got Tam Nakano defending the World of Stardom Championship against Megan Bayne. Obviously, these cards are all sort of coming in the middle of the 5-star and are often seen as forgettable cards simply because of, people are more interested in the 5-star. Obviously, I don't know enough about Megan Bayne to be excited about that match just yet. However, Mayu Iwatani versus Utami had a fantastic match in the IWGP Women's Championship tournament. The fact that they're running that back, I'm very excited about. And the Goddess of Stardom title match, don't sleep on Rose Gold versus Sayori Poi. I have very, very high expectations for that match. Matt, is Julia going to be the first person to make you sell? That is the big question.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say for any of the new listeners. I enjoy you. I just don't like her lack of selling, especially her refusal to put Mirai and Ami Sourei over in any stretch of the imagination in a match. But I have a feeling that she'll sell really well. I think that match will be really, really good. And now I'm curious to see if Julia, because she has the defense here, if the next week is supposedly on the 19th of August is when she's rumored to be over in Philadelphia. So I still have not pulled the trigger on my tickets yet because I don't want to pull no disrespect to any of the New Japan juniors that are on the show. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic, but that's like my hang up on, buying a ticket, traveling to Philadelphia, and basically just taking the day to do that. So I'm wondering if Julia's going to have like 2 title defenses in a week. So I'm not really sure yet because nothing's been officially announced. And I know it's been heavily speculated in the Observer and a whole bunch of other places that are pretty good sources. So, not really sure what they're doing with that, but that'd be pretty cool if Julia just is able to just keeps defending the strong belt like back to back. So a few times. I think that match would be great. It'll be violent in the best way possible. I see Julia maybe getting a submission win. It'd be really cool to see if she can get you up in the Northern Lights bomb. That'd be really cool visual. So, yeah, I'm interested in that. And you said don't sleep on the tag title match. I know that'll be great. Completely shifting gears. Don't sleep on Koguma versus Saki Kashima because that's going to be high speed and shenanigans all in one, buddy.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. So that was one card we had announced. We also had on the 18th of August the card for the New Blood 10 show, and that is as follows. We've got a 6-woman tag, Hanako, Kazuna Tanaka, and Hanoka versus Ami, Sori, Nanami, and Miran. We've got Lady C versus Kohaku, Mei Seira and Suzu Suzuki versus Hanan and Hina. Very excited for that. Singles match, a Cosmic Angels evaluation match with Yuna Mizumori versus Natsupoi. Miyu Amasaki versus Sayori Anu that was actually set up on one of the Road 2 shows we talked about earlier. Nene Takahashi versus Saya Ida in the latest of the Passion Injection matches. And for the future of Stardom Championship, we have got Rina versus Waka Tsukiyama. In terms of New Blood cards, Matt, I'm excited by this card. I think this card's decent. Can't help seeing that we've got no New Blood Tag Team Championship on here, though, which is slightly disappointing. But other than that, not a bad show.
No, and I don't think I've ever wanted Natsupoi to lose a match before. I think, again, I love Natsupoi, obviously. Who doesn't? She's fantastic, terrific. But I just really want to see Yuna in the Cosmic Angels. I just think that she fits so well, and she's working so hard. And again, we talked about it earlier in the show, just improving so much in the ring. But the Saida and Nene match is on here, right?
Yes, it is. Semi-main.
Oh, man. I'm so... As good as the Starlight Kid and the Nine match was, and that was great. I think this one could be just as good because their styles are so well. It's going to be 10, 11, 12 minutes of just hard hitting action back and forth. And I'm going to make a crazy prediction, Rob. I'm going to go out on a limb and saying that Nene Takahashi loses her first passion injection match. Maybe I'm betting with my heart. The show favorite Saya Ida.
I don't share your enthusiasm that serial pin eater Saya Ida is beating notorious pin avoider Nene Takahashi. I would love it to happen. I think that could be the boost that Saya Ida needs, but I don't see it happening, especially as Waka Tsukiyama currently has a pinfall victory very recently over Saya Ida. Again, would love to see it happen. Love to see Yuna Mizumori beat Natsupoi just to be part of Cosmic Angels, because I think if anyone has deserved it, she has. Just one last thing on the new Blood card. Rina versus Waka for the Future of Stardom Championship. Do you see any way of Waka getting the belt, or do you see a title defense for Rina?
Title defense, I think it's going to be really, really good. Again, Waka, she gets that big win. She got a couple wins in the going into the Cinderella tournament. And then she's kind of been back and forth with the wins or losses, more losses. But you can't deny that Waka's great. I mean, go back and watch that Future. When she was still at the Big Goose Egg, the Zero, when she wrestled Hanan for the Future belt. It was a few near falls in that. But I think this is going to be a very good, very underrated match that once it gets done, people are going to be like, of course, Rina is really good and Waka's really good. But no, I see Rina holding that belt for probably until the end of the year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that. We've had a couple of relatively quick title losses since the Hanan one, so yeah. Well, I'll say a couple. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'd be happy to see Rina hold it because I think she's deserved it. And finally, the last card we had announced was a strange one, in truth. It's due to take place the night after New Blood, so the 19th of August, and the Midsummer Fez show is going to be a tribute to Joshi legends. Now, this card was greeted divisively, which we'll talk about in a moment, but I just want to run through the card. So we've got a three-way match, Koguma versus Hanako versus Fukigen Death. We have got Hanan, Hina, and Rina taking on Lady C, Waka Tsukiyama, and Yuna Mizumori. Rose Gold taking on Megan Bain and Tekla. That's non-title. Maika, Suzu Suzuki, and Mei Seira versus Mirai, Amisori, and Saya Ida. That's interesting. We've then got Syuri and Saki Kashima, the first time they have tagged together since becoming a member of God's Eye, versus Mayu Iwatani and Momo Kogo. Gee, I wonder who's eating the pin in that one. And then we have a three set of matches, which I honestly didn't think I'd ever be reading out loud. So, we have got a 6-woman tag. Nanai Takahashi, Momo Nakanishi, and Jaguar Yokota taking on Momo Watanabe, Starlight Kid, and Yu, who seems to be the latest in line to sort of walk away from Nanai Takahashi and 7-Up. We've then got Dump, Matsumoto, Zap T, Natsukatora, and Ruaka taking on Utami Hayashishita, Azumi Miyawamasaki, and Kyoko Inoue. And then in the main event, as it's billed at the moment, Shinobu Kandori, Takako Inoue, and Hazuki taking on Tam Nakano, Natsupoi, and Sayori Inu. So, basically, didn't see any of this coming, I'll be perfectly honest. It's going to be a very, very exciting show. Even if it is just to honour some of these Joshi legends. Obviously, Kandori, a legitimate badass, had a fantastic match with Akira Hokuto at Dream Slam. Kyoko Inoue and Takako Inoue, obviously one half each of Double Inoue, both excellent wrestlers in their own right. Kyoko Inoue is very, very decorated, and of course is the current owner and founder of Pro Wrestling Diana. We've got Jaguar Yokota in there, who is widely known as one of, if not the greatest women's wrestler of all time. Dun Matsumoto, who is such a cool heel, like the Joshi heel. She was terrifying in her time, and there's one very gifable moment of her stabbing someone in the arm with scissors, and there is no pulled attack there. They are going in and out, and it is gross. But Dun Matsumoto is fantastic. Unfortunately, I don't know a great deal about Zap T, but overall, obviously, Joshi royalty are going to be on display during Midsummer Fest. Now, the negativity surrounding it is obviously that these women are no longer in their prime. And that's reasonable. We've got women who are in their 50s, some in their 60s, some in their high 60s. So are they going to be able to go with the likes of the Stardom roster? Obviously, we had the press conference where Kandori pretty much did the whole, I'm going to come in and show these women, real women's wrestling, which seems to be the sort of tagline for anyone that comes back into Stardom, Neo Stardom Army, for example. So if that's going to be sort of an angle, I'm a little less excited than I would be if it's just a one-off celebration of these pioneering women. If it's a one-off show, I'm all for it. I think it'd be great. If it's a repeated thing, I don't think I'm going to be that interested, if I'm perfectly honest. But to see Kandori in the ring again, to see the likes of Momo Nakanishi, who can still go, by the way, we saw that a couple of weeks ago, Takako Inoue, who apparently is in her late 40s, early 50s. I disagree. Looking at her face, she could be 35. Like, she just doesn't age. It's ridiculous. And obviously Jagiu Kota has been wrestling on and off since the 70s. So I can understand the negatives about basically, these women are past it. What are we going to get out of this? But I can also see the excitement of celebrating these Joshi legends. Matt, where do you stand? I assume on the excited side because you are one of the most positive people I meet, but can you understand perhaps some of, not necessarily the negativity, but the surprise surrounding this announcement?
Sure. I'll be honest with you. I try to stay away from the negativity, and about 90% of the tweets and the social media stuff has all been positive. I understand the negativity here, but at the same time, nostalgia, especially in wrestling, is amazing. It is amazing. You got to keep in mind, when I was 20 years old back in 2002, again, I grew up in the 80s. The biggest thing on my TV for years was Hulk Hogan. You have no idea how amazing it was to see Hulk Hogan back in the Toronto Skydome with The Rock, the building that him and the Ultimate Warrior set ablaze, and that place to go absolutely ballistic for Hulk Hogan doing a lockup and doing a pose. Nostalgia, again, in wrestling is amazing. My favorite wrestler of all time is Ricky Steamboat. To watch Ricky Steamboat basically go toe-to-toe with Chris Jericho at the end of the Legends Gauntlet at WrestleMania 25 was incredible. And it was only supposed to be a one-off, and Steamboat went on the road with them for 2 months. So not unless one of these wrestlers gets really, really over, I want this to be a one-off. However, if Kandori is phenomenal and they want to do something with her and Shuri, yes, absolutely. Something with her and Suzu, yes, absolutely. Speaking of Kandori, Rob, I think I'm so excited for that match because after the match is over, Kandori, who's a badass judo player, I think she was in the Olympics or the Olympic trials, a legit shooter, well before a legit, one of the most legit badass wrestlers of her time. I'm excited when that match is over for her to go to Hazuki and be like, damn kid, you gotta relax. Calm down. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm not expecting 4.5 to 5 stars from these ladies, but at the same time, they're around a lot of talent that's going to protect them and then make them look good. Do you see my point on that one there, buddy?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's obviously we've got no singles matches. They are all multi-woman tags for presumably that very reason. Again, if it's a single night of celebration, I'm absolutely fine with it because I don't like the idea of having pay-per-views in the middle of the 5-star anyway. So to make it a unique one-off experience, I'm absolutely fine with. If it becomes a rolling thing, and obviously the women are getting older and are potentially slowing down in the ring, I'm not interested in that. And I'm not particularly interested in a extended run for any of these, though I'm sure Kyoko Inoue can still go. I'm not particularly interested in that. So if this is the one-off celebration, I'm happy. Why not, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, nostalgia. These ladies drew a ton of money in the 90s. So I wouldn't be shocked if the attendance on this one does 2,100, 2,200. I think it's going to draw a really, really good crowd. And I think everybody in the that's going to pay, they know what they're going to get in this. It's going to be a shot in the arm for Stardom, because you're going to have some fans that are going just to see the legends that'll be like, oh, this Tam Nakano is really good. Oh, this Suzuki's really good. I heard about this Mayu. She's really good. Like, just going back off the friends that I've had through childhood, that we grew up in the 80s. WWF was the biggest thing on our TV. Anytime we hear that, they're doing something with Hulk Hogan, or, back before Roddy Piper passed away, when Roddy Piper was going to be on Raw, my friends who wouldn't watch wrestling, maybe like WrestleMania or something here or there, who really wouldn't watch Raw or SmackDown, if a Piper or a DiBiase, a Slaughter, or a Hogan was on, they would watch. And then I would get phone calls like, who's this, CM Punk guy well, they know who CM Punk was, but you know what I mean? Who's this, Bryan Danielson guy? Who's, this other person? So that might be the hook, is they're going to get some of those older fans that are coming for nostalgia just to see these legends. And then be like, I'm really impressed by that Utami. I'm really impressed by this, by that Julia. So that might be the hook there. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. And I think this could be this is only really a positive for Stardom.
Okay, so with all that being said, the final bit that I just want to talk about is the Dream Tag Festival, which is currently scheduled for the 10th of September. Obviously, with Saya's injury, the card and the teams have had to be reshuffled. So the teams are as followed: Mayu Iwatani and Saki Kashima, Utami Hayashishita and Maika, Nanai Takahashi and Ruaka, Natsupoi and Saori Anou, Hazuki and Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe and Momo Kogo, Mirai and Mei Sakurai, Mirai May and Hanan, Tam and Mina Shirakawa, rather than Tam and Saya. Or was it Mina and Saya? Mina and Saya, sorry. Hina and Rina, Starlight Kid and Azumi, and Julia and Suzuki. So we have had that change due to the elbow injury of Saya, but that is now up for voting on what matches you want to see. Now, Matt, before we just kick very, very quickly into what 5-star matches we've got going on this week, is there a particular match that you have voted for or will be voting for in this tag festival?
I will be voting for Utami and Maika versus Julia and Suzuki, and then the Momos are not the Momo sisters. I'm sorry, the High Speed sisters of Starlight Kid and Azumi versus Dream H. Right? Tam and Mina were Dream H.
Indeed, the Reformation.
Yes, those are probably the two matches that I'll be voting for. I'm very interested that they put the Momos together. I thought that was funny, and also former Goddess champion Saki Kashima, the thorn in the side of one Mayu Iwatani.
Absolutely. There is a lot of history between some of these partners, so it's going to be very, very interesting. Just before we sign off then, there are a couple of 5-star dates coming up this week. Not in the same vein, obviously not matches all the way down the card. There are the odd matches that are going to be taking place on different cards. There's one on the 29th and one on the 30th. So the show from the 29th will have primarily blue block action. And when I say primarily, I mean entirely. We have got Mirai versus Mina Shirakawa, obviously both on 0 points as it stands. Julia versus Hanan. Julia obviously 0-1 and Hanan 0-1. And then finally in the main event, as it is currently stated, again, card subject to change, it is Saori Anou versus Mariah May in the Battle of the Tournament Debutantes. We've then got the next day in Saitama, the 30th of July, and these are your 5-star matches from that card. Only the two. We have got Mirai versus Hanan, and we've got Suzuki versus Natsupoi in red block. On the undercard, by the way, of this show, we have got Tam Nakano and Yuna Mizumori versus Julia and Tekla. So that is going to be very, very exciting. We've also got Rose Gold versus Hazuki and Momo Kogo. And then we have also got Mayu, Koguma, and Sayurita versus Utami, Azumi, and Lady C. So certainly a card to keep your eye on. But those are your 5-star matches that we will be talking about next week. We'll be running through both those cards, hopefully, if the current Stardom upload schedule continues. We'll be bringing you that at your normal time for patrons on Thursday, the 3rd of August, and for our free feed on Friday the 4th. So, yeah, I think, Matt, that just about brings us to the end of this podcast. I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who has listened to or downloaded an episode, or has left us reviews on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever. I do just want to issue an apology. I feel like we offended someone in our last episode when we called Yoshihiko a doll. He is, of course, not a doll. He is a DDT legend. So apologies to the one person that pointed that out on Spotify. I do appreciate it. But we'd love to hear from you. So make sure you go find us, give us a 5-star review if you think we've earned it. We'll leave us a review, and so on and so forth. You can find us on all manner of social media at the Stardom Cast. If you want to talk to me on Twitter, you can at Real Rob Goodwin. And yeah, don't forget to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/the Stardom Cast. Lots and lots and lots of things coming up in our Summer of Sire. Matt, let's sign us off, good sir.
Absolutely, folks. Thank you, everybody, for we always get nice things said about us. It seems like the past week or so, it's the positive comments have been coming in more and more. We greatly appreciate it. Also, do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is free. We would greatly appreciate that, folks. Questions, comments, you want to talk about the 5-star, anything else? Let me know. Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and or the Twitter. If you want to shoot me an email, that's perfectly fine as well. Best way to catch me via the email is thestardomcast22@gmail.com. Folks, once again, we cannot say thank you enough. We cannot do this podcast without the fantastic support. Like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast, because we're all in this together. Everybody's different. Everybody's special.